Yusho carefully looks over the list of those who passed among the crowd, but his name is not there. With a serious expression, he accepts defeat. For the second time, his effort was not enough. Quietly, he walks away from the place, feeling down. Yusho tries to convince himself that he failed because he didn't try hard enough. While walking thoughtfully, he comes across an unexpected scene, a robbery happening at a convenience store. Even feeling down, he witnesses the dangerous situation as the clerk is threatened. Realizing it's a robbery, Yusho watches in shock. The criminal holds a knife and pressures the clerk to hand over money. She hesitates, and the robber gets irritated by the delay, making the moment even tenser. In a brave impulse, Yusho attacks the thief with a broom, hitting his armed arm. The clerk takes advantage of the moment to react, knocking over the cash register. Chaos breaks out, surprising the criminal, who loses control of the situation. Taking advantage of the distraction, Yusho lands a precise hit with a food tongs, knocking the robber down for good. With the danger neutralized, he quietly observes the scene as the clerk looks at the young man who, despite a personal day of failure, acted with courage. The clerk smiles emotionally and sincerely thanks Yusho for his bravery. In silence, he says goodbye and leaves, leaving behind the now safe store. His solitary figure is seen through the window as he walks back into the cold night, with something more valuable than approval: dignity. Suddenly, Yusho finds himself in an empty, bright space, surrounded only by sky and clouds. Confused, he wonders if he is in heaven or if he has died. The loneliness of the place contrasts with the intensity of the earlier events, starting a new mystery. Yusho is greeted by a mysterious man who immediately bows apologetically, making him even more confused. Not understanding the situation, he tries to process what is happening, while the stranger says that Yusho has arrived and needs to hear an apology. The man reveals he cast a spell on Yusho and two others, something as extreme as killing them. The revelation shocks Yusho as he tries to understand if this man is some kind of higher being, maybe even divine. The man identifies himself as a demigod and explains they are in the border realm, a place close to heaven. He says he tried to bring divine punishment to the world he rules, but by mistake was pulled into Yusho's world. Regretful, he apologizes. While Yusho, panicked, asks what will happen to him now. The demigod explains he will use his power to reincarnate Yusho, but not in the original world, only in the world he governs. He admits his limitations and says he can't offer great powers or abilities, making clear that even his divine gifts have restrictions. He reveals Yusho will be reincarnated in a fantasy world full of swords, magic, and magical creatures. Though there are many dangers, he promises to compensate for the lack of power by giving Yusho a special innate ability. Surprised, Yusho asks some questions before accepting his fate. Yusho wakes again in the same ethereal, empty place, confused about his situation. He wonders if this is just another test or trick. A sense of déjà vu surrounds him as uncertainty about his destiny continues. Yusho asks about his new life. He learns he will be reborn as a normal human, but with access to magic, though not all types. The demigod explains there are 4 main elemental attributes: fire, water, wind, and earth, plus holy magic. He suggests Yusho try saying status open to see his abilities. Yusho activates status open and views his skill sheet. To the demigod's surprise, his attributes are already at S level, even without receiving special power. He shows a rare natural potential, with affinity for multiple magics and combat skills. With time running out, the demigod extends his hand and offers Yusho one last choice, to decide which special ability he wants to take to his new life. Facing the unique opportunity, Yusho prepares to make his final request. With determination, Yusho states his wish, an ability where effort is fairly rewarded. Surprised, the demigod reacts confused, not expecting such a simple and direct request, but one deep in meaning. The demigod questions the request, thinking it too simple. But Yusho insists, even if it seems ordinary for him, effort doesn't always bring results. Understanding his determination, the demigod agrees to grant him an innate talent where effort always leads to real progress. The ability given to Yusho drastically increases the experience needed to level up, 3 times the normal amount. However, as a reward, every time he levels up, all his attributes increase proportionally. Unlike others who grow little with each advance, Yusho will have full, balanced growth, with every effort doubled in return. Excited by the ability's potential, Yusho accepts enthusiastically, eager to grow more than others by his own merit. As a bonus, the demigod also grants him clairvoyance, a skill that lets him see in the dark, analyze people and objects, and even understand the flow of magic. Curious, Yusho asks, what will happen to the demigod now? The demigod reveals that upon reincarnating Yusho, his own existence will come to an end. To handle the other two involved, he will create clones, though with only half his power. These clones will have limitations in strength and in ability to explain things, and can only grant a fraction of the original power. With time running out, the demigod places his hands on Yusho's shoulders, entrusting his clones with the mission to finish what he cannot. In silence, both accept the fate before them, one saying goodbye to his existence, the other about to begin a new life. Yusho is reborn as a baby in a new world, now named Mars Bryant. His status remains impressive from birth, including innate talents and various magics. Crying in his first moments, he begins a new journey with great potential and an unknown future. A year passes since Yusho's rebirth as Mars Bryant. Still a child, he already shows mastery of clairvoyance, using it to inspect objects and his surroundings. After repeatedly exhausting his MP, he notices that this increases his maximum magical capacity, an early discovery showing his dedication and intelligence. Mars lives with his new family, the Bryants, in a warm home. His parents, Zeke and Maria, and his brother Ike, show affection and pride. Ike admires Mars, and their close relationship helps the youngest grow. Meanwhile, the parents recognize Mars's exemplary behavior and watch closely his rapid progress. As Mars Bryant's story continues, a metapause occurs with the author answering readers' questions. He clarifies that the demigod made a mistake by hitting the wrong world, justifying the apology. He also talks about names, status, and chapter structure, thanking fans for their unexpected support and encouraging suggestions. Mars keeps training subtly, realizing even the effort to get dressed uses his magical energy and helps him grow. After noticing another power increase, he decides it's almost time to start testing real magic. Mars tries to cast magic for the first time, but fails as expected. Still calm, he acknowledges he needs to learn the basics. Determined, he understands it's time to seriously study magic. During family dinner, Mars surprises everyone by directly asking how to use magic. His curiosity catches his parents' attention, who are intrigued by their son's sudden early interest in such knowledge. Maria asks why Mars is curious about magic. Enthusiastically, he replies that, if he has talent, he wants to start trying early. He even expresses a wish to learn healing magic, surprising his mother, who sees no need for that now. Mars's sincerity shows his early determination. Mars surprises his parents by saying he dreams of healing their injuries. Intrigued, Maria and Zeke decide to check if he can use divine magic so early. Seeing his extraordinary potential, they agree to test him the next day, while Ike watches curiously. The next morning, the family takes Mars to test his magic affinity. Zeke explains the importance of divine magic, which can heal diseases and wounds, and stresses that if Mars can use it, it will be rare and valuable. For safety, his parents ask him to keep the ability secret. Mars understands and agrees with a confident smile. During the test, Ike teaches Mars to feel and control the mana concentrated below the navel, the essential point to use magic. Mars detects the energy easily, but struggles to circulate it through his body. Even so, he shows natural talent and quick understanding for his age. After the crystal test, the parents are surprised by the results. Both Ike and Mars manage to manipulate mana. Ike shows great combat potential, especially with sword, spear, and fire magic. Mars reveals a prodigious talent. His MP level is incredibly high, and he has affinity for divine and wind magic, far surpassing ordinary mages. The following day, the family buys grimoires to teach magic to the boys. Zeke accompanies Mars, while Maria trains Ike. Following instructions, Mars channels mana to his fingertips and recites the wind spell. Fully focused, he takes his first practical steps toward his magical journey. Mars successfully casts his first spell. As he chants wind, a powerful gust appears before him, surprising the whole family. The strength and control of the spell make clear he is a prodigy, able to master magic with great ease from an early age. After showing his magic, Mars is surrounded by his family in a warm, proud celebration. A few days later, Ike also manages to use fire magic, reinforcing the family's talent. Admired by all, Mars inspires even his brother, who decides to train harder to keep up. A year passes. Mars and Ike now train seriously together in the backyard. Both show focus and discipline, taking deep breaths before starting another magic practice session, showing how much they've improved since the beginning. During training, Ike shows precision with his sword and fire magic, while Mars easily controls a strong gust of wind. Both demonstrate clear mastery and progress, their stats reflecting the constant effort they put into their skills. The brothers' dedication is paying off. Zeke and Maria come home and are warmly greeted by Mars and Ike. Zeke, excited, says he brought something special, but decides to reveal it later. Maria smiles quietly beside him as the calm afternoon ends under a sky with flying birds, signaling something important was achieved. Zeke reveals the gift, a powerful magical sword called Fire Spirit Sword. The blade impresses Mars, who feels its magical aura just by looking. Zeke gives the sword to Ike as a present, recognizing his progress. Grateful and emotional, Ike thanks his father enthusiastically. It's Mars's turn. Zeke hands him a beginner's holy magic grimoire, encouraging him to study hard. Mars thanks him enthusiastically and starts practicing the healing spell. Although it doesn't work perfectly yet, he doesn't get discouraged. Determined to master the magic he always wanted. Determined to improve, Mars continues practicing the healing spell the next day. With focus and persistence, he finally manages to activate the magic correctly. Seeing the spell's glow in his hand, he happily celebrates his first success with holy magic. Excited, Mars runs to Ike to tell him he succeeded with the healing spell. Surprised and happy, Ike congratulates him. Mars then asks why Ike isn't using the magical sword, and Ike explains their father told him to master the basics first. Their talk is interrupted by someone urgently calling them. Zeke and Maria return injured from a mission, supporting each other. They say they were attacked by a dungeon monster, but downplay it. Still, Mars notices his father's injury is worse than his mother's, and decides to act immediately. Without hesitation, Mars approaches Zeke and casts the healing spell with conviction. The magic covers the wound and starts working, surprising everyone with his determination and control. Then he turns to Maria, determined to heal her with the same dedication. After healing, Mars asks with a smile if his parents still feel pain. Zeke and Maria, surprised and emotional, realize they are fully recovered. Touching their bodies, they confirm the cure and gratefully thank their son with pride. Maria gets emotional and hugs Mars tightly, proud that he can already use healing magic so effectively. Ike watches smiling, enchanted by the scene. Zeke observes quietly, serious and thoughtful about his son's extraordinary potential. During a family meeting, Zeke talks about Ike and Mars's future. He reveals that he and Maria work as adventurers, exploring dungeons and killing monsters. Zeke also mentions receiving an order from a local noble to exterminate specific creatures. Seeing Mars use holy magic, Zeke starts thinking more deeply about the opportunities ahead for his sons. During the talk, Zeke asks if they would like to help with adventurer work someday. He clarifies that decision will be made in the future when they are grown. Determined, he promises to train them to be strong, and both brothers respond enthusiastically and ready. In the family meeting, Zeke announces big news. Soon, Mars and Ike will have a younger sibling. The news surprises and excites the brothers, who react with great enthusiasm and anticipation for the new family member. A year later, Mars and Ike train intensely with swords in the backyard, showing skill and agility. As they duel, the surroundings reflect the energy of their effort, showing how much both have grown and dedicated themselves to improving combat techniques. Mars and Ike intensify their duel, exchanging quick and precise blows. Both demonstrate great control and strength, with agile movements and impactful sounds, revealing the intensity of their training and the brothers' growing skills. During the year of training, Mars and Ike significantly improve their skills and stats. Mars develops his swordsmanship, wind, and holy magic, while Ike masters sword, spear, and fire magic. The most notable achievement is Ike's success using the magical sword, impressing the whole family and marking a big step in his growth. Lena is born, the Bryant family's youngest sister. The baby brings joy and tenderness to all, who find her adorable. Even small, Lena already has innate talents for water and earth magic, indicating she will follow the family's magical path. 1 year passes, and the family gathers to assess Ike and Mars's progress. Zeke announces that the next day he and Ike will hunt monsters outside the city, but wants everyone's opinion about Mars joining them using holy magic to help. Mars shows his will and determination to participate, while Maria expresses concern, but supports the family's decision. Maria worries about Mars and Ike going on the mission. Considering Mars is only 3, and Ike still very young, she fears for their safety and wishes she could go too, especially to care for Lena. Despite her desire to help, family responsibilities keep her home, causing inner conflict between care and adventure. When asked, Mars firmly says he wants to join his father and Ike on the mission. Understanding her worries, Maria accepts her son's decision with a sigh, showing a mix of resignation and confidence in Mars's potential. Maria gives important instructions to Mars and Ike. Avoid dangerous or magic-rich areas. She emphasizes that, as children, they cannot use equipment yet. Mars suggests staying together for protection. Confident, Zeke encourages them to take potions in case magical healing won't work. He promises to take care of them. With everything ready, Zeke, Ike, and Mars say goodbye and leave for the mission. Maria warns them to be careful and not overdo it. The family watches as the 3 head down the road, aware of the challenges ahead but confident in their unity and strength. At the guild, Mars sees other children for the first time. He notices some have skills and statuses similar to his, making him question his own potential and strength. Being around other young adventurers awakens his sense of competition and self-awareness. Zeke says he got the usual monster-killing mission, and they prepare to leave. The trio walks through the city streets to the dungeon entrance, where Zeke announces they've arrived. Excitement grows as they approach the challenge. The group leaves the dungeon and heads to the nearby plains where the mission will take place. Mars admires the vast open landscape, while Zeke confidently comments on their luck finding such a good hunting ground. The mood is one of expectation and readiness. While exploring, the group encounters goblins. The creatures seem careless, but show stats indicating potential danger. Tension rises, signaling the real hunt is about to begin. The goblins attack Ike, and Zeke tells him to prepare to use the fire sword to defeat the enemies. He demonstrates the technique, creating fireballs in his palms, encouraging Ike to watch and learn to fight monsters effectively. Zeke uses the stone bullet technique, throwing stone projectiles that hit goblins precisely. He then asks Ike if his fire magic is ready for attack, showing strategy and leadership as Ike prepares to strike next. Ike uses fire magic to burn the defeated goblins, preventing them from becoming undead. Zeke approves and advises the boys to take magical remains to the guild to sell and get rewards. He also reminds them to collect magic stones after battle to make use of resources. After the fight, Mars says he wants to use magic against goblins next time, explaining he plans to use the wind cutter technique instead of basic wind magic. Zeke is surprised and excited to hear Mars has already learned it, encouraging him to practice and improve control. During the battle, Mars and Ike coordinate their attacks against goblins. Mars uses wind cutter to attack from a distance, while Zeke instructs Ike to finish the last enemy with his sword, aiming for the neck for an effective strike. The strategy shows teamwork and the young adventurer's growth. Mars executes the powerful wind cutter technique, releasing a wind blade that pushes goblins back forcefully, showing his skill in magic and his progress fighting alongside his family. Ike and Mars keep fighting goblins with skill and determination. Their father praises their work, suggesting they take down a few more goblins before heading home. They agree enthusiastically, showing progress and family unity. Ike and Mars fight fiercely using sword and magic. With quick and precise strikes, they defeat the enemies, building their confidence and teamwork in battle. Ike notices he leveled up and sees his improved stats. He feels his power and skills increase after the fight. After defeating the goblins, the family celebrates Ike's success. Mars, determined, recovers and dreams of leveling up soon, showing ambition and enthusiasm for upcoming challenges. Mars faces a group of goblins with determination, aiming to reach his next level. He uses his magic at full strength, releasing a powerful energy wave against the enemies. Mars celebrates his higher level after the goblin battle. His progress is recognized by his father, who notes that it might be hard for Mars to evolve so fast. They notice an unusual number of dead goblins in the forest, questioning why encounters are so frequent. Worried, they decide the situation is abnormal and should be reported to the guild. The group discusses the recent rise of monsters in the Almeria region. The leader explains that due to a shortage of adventurers, the guild issued a special mission to investigate. Despite the danger, everyone agrees to accept and take part in the investigation. The family discusses the guild mission. The mother expresses concern about facing monsters stronger than goblins, while the brother offers to help, even if they are only goblins. Mars, unsure of his strength, prefers not to join. He asks his father to postpone the mission, but the final decision hasn't been made. The family decides to postpone the special mission and instead focus on defeating regular monsters to gain experience. A kobold appears, showing basic stats and suggesting it will be the next challenge. The group faces many monsters working as a team, making fighting harder. In such cases, the leader stresses that it's better to retreat and fight enemies one by one, a strategy to keep the advantage. The group leader orders the goblins to be defeated as they advance with determination and courage, fighting with focus and strategy. Ike and Mars fight goblins with skill and strength. Mars uses wind magic to attack from afar, while Ike fights up close with his sword. Together, they quickly defeat the enemies, showing teamwork and effective strategy. 1 month later, Ike and Mars reach new power levels. Ike celebrates his progress, feeling ready to return home. Both show improved skills and renewed confidence, ready for upcoming challenges. Mars and Ike finish the goblin battle, burning the bodies to prevent them from becoming undead. As they walk, Mars thinks about the right moment to talk about the eye of the sky. Meanwhile, little Lena sleeps peacefully. Mars happily announces he can now use the evaluation ability. During dinner, he calls his parents to show the new skill. Surprised, they ask if he can see everyone's status. and Mars confirms, proudly showing he can also see objects' status with a smile. Mars asks to talk again about the Almeria investigation, expressing concern about the excessive number of goblins in the region. His father agrees it might be a good idea to investigate, while the family shows pride and support for Mars's progress. The family agrees the investigation is a good idea and praises Mars and Ike's growth. The father announces he will take the special mission the next day, with the children's enthusiastic support. The next day, the family says goodbye carefully and worried as the father, with Ike and Mars, sets out on the special mission. The mother watches, wishing them to be careful on their journey. While traveling, Ike asks about what lies to the west, and their father explains there's an abandoned mine there since before Ike was born. Suddenly, a goblin quickly appears near the wagon, signaling imminent danger. Upon arriving in town, the group notices a worrying situation. A large number of goblins gathered, causing concern for everyone. Ike, Mars, and their father assess the scene, knowing a challenge awaits them. Ike and Mars prepare to face the goblins. Ike casts an explosive spell in the center of the group to draw the enemy's attention while positioning himself for battle. They ready themselves to face the goblins' charge as they advance together. Ike and Mars attack the goblins with powerful magic, creating a shower of explosions, hitting multiple enemies at once, causing great damage and disorienting them. Ike and Mars start the assault with strong magic, while their father and Marthgar get ready to join the fight and defeat the remaining foes. Mars levels up after the battle and notes the amount of magical stones they collected. He calls his father to show him something important. They find a large, curious door. Mars comments on its size, while his father wonders what it might be. Opening the door, they face a huge horde of threatening goblins staring at them with hostile intent, leaving everyone shocked. They encounter a goblin group led by a hobgoblin who has high resistance and large health points. Their father instructs them to first eliminate the goblins before facing the hobgoblin. They charge at the goblin group ready for combat, as the hobgoblin takes position for battle. Ike focuses his strength and leaps to attack the hobgoblin, prepared to strike a powerful blow. Ike takes a hit from the hobgoblin, but quickly recovers and counters with his sword. Mars, concentrated, prepares his magical attack and instructs Ike to aim for the enemy's eyes. Agile and determined, Ike dodges the hobgoblin's attack and uses the chance to counterattack, aiming at the enemy's eyes to deal critical damage and secure victory. Ike shows his agility and martial skill by swiftly evading the hobgoblin's attack and standing firm to strike with precision. Ike skillfully defeats the hobgoblin with a precise strike. Meanwhile, Mars finds a huge magical stone. However, something surprising catches the group's attention, putting them on alert. They discover the place is a labyrinth. If goblins are coming out in large numbers, this could be a big problem. The leader suggests exploring the labyrinth to understand the goblin's origin and prepare for a possible mass invasion. They enter the labyrinth and decide to explore a specific area before returning, staying alert for any dangers inside. They find goblin mages inside the labyrinth, posing a bigger challenge due to their magic use, which can complicate the fight. They move quickly to face the goblin mages, determined to eliminate them before they can cast spells, showing focus and resolve in their mission. They fight the goblins with determination and precision. After the battle, they find a treasure chest. Marthgar asks Mars to check for danger before opening it, showing caution. Mars accepts the task promptly. Mars analyzes the chest and realizes its contents depend on luck. The better the luck, the better the treasure. He concludes it doesn't seem to be a trap. Marthgar allows Mars to open it, revealing several valuable magical stones. They find a magical fire bracelet that enhances firepower. The group gets excited about the discovery, knowing they can now strengthen their fire attacks even more. They return to the guild to deliver the mission report to the guild master. The master asks if the children are with them and allows them to sit down to discuss the next steps. The guild master Zeke congratulates them on completing the mission and asks who the children are. Ike and Mars introduce themselves as Zeke's sons, reinforcing their family connection. Ralph Sargent, an envoy, introduces himself and reports on the mission. He confirms the presence of hobgoblins and goblin mages and explains that an abandoned building in the village turned into a labyrinth. Zeke warns that the labyrinth's saturation is starting, which could become a serious problem if it continues. The news causes surprise and concern. The group informs that Zeke will consult Count Carmel about the labyrinth situation. They also request that the children, Ike and Mars, be registered as adventurers. They explain the kids accompanied them on the investigation, and that without them, they wouldn't have progressed so much against the enemies. Zeke explains to Count Carmel that Ike masters fencing, spear, and fire magic, while Mars can use wind magic. The Count is skeptical they are just children, but is convinced when they demonstrate powerful magical attacks. The The Count agrees to register Ike and Mars as adventurers, officially approving their entry. The brothers are happy and thankful, while the scene shows their home at night, marking this new beginning in their lives. Ike and Mars continue training together, with Mars stating he will be stronger than his older brother. Ike replies he can't surpass him, but their determination is clear. Their father returns and is warmly welcomed by the sons, showing a family atmosphere of support. The family receives their adventurer cards, both ranked E. They are informed about a special guild mission involving managing the Labyrinth with other adventurers. As a reward, they were promised the title of Baron. The leader asks everyone's opinion about the task. Everyone agrees it's a good idea to accept the mission. With that, the leader decides to take on the challenge. They head toward the Labyrinth, along with other adventurers, ready for the new journey ahead. 6 months later, they return after a good harvest, satisfied with their progress. Zeke receives praise for the excellent work done, while the group happily walks back to the village, showing growth and evolution in their skills. A new guild team called Blue Fang, rank D, appears to thank them for taking care of Lena. The girl expresses her gratitude with a radiant smile, showing she's safe and happy under the adventurer's care. The Bryant family prepares for a new mission in the Labyrinth. They plan for all 4 family members to face the challenge together, showing unity and determination for what's to come. The Bryant family is ready to leave, united and determined to face the Labyrinth's challenges. With confidence and courage, they prepare for their next adventure. Ike and Mars face a large horde of goblins and hobgoblins in the Labyrinth, showing courage and determination to deal with the challenge ahead. Ike and Mars advance together, attacking goblins with precision and resolve, preparing for the decisive confrontation. Ike fights goblins with quick and precise attacks, while Mars and the mage deal with goblin mages preparing spells, trying to stop them from casting magic. Mars and Ike face an attack by goblin mages. Mars quickly reacts, dodging and counterattacking with his magic, while Ike moves in for close combat, striking with his sword and keeping pressure on the enemies. Mars notices the enemy's swift movement and, with agility, aims for the creature's eyes to destabilize it. He lands a precise hit, trying to deal maximum damage to bring down the foe. Ike acts fast to protect his brother, throwing a spear accurately to hit the enemy. The action shows his skill and determination to defend his family, while Mars stays alert to attack or support as needed. Mars hits the enemy precisely, knocking it down with a powerful attack. Meanwhile, Ike watches the large treasure chest, preparing for the mission's next stage. They advance through the labyrinth with determination. Ike shows off his new flaming spear with a confident smile, while ahead a large door blocks the path, hinting at a bigger challenge. They find a safe zone inside the labyrinth and decide to rest. While Ike, Mars, and the others take the moment to relax and recover, Mars sleeps deeply, regaining strength for the challenges ahead. They reach the labyrinth's second floor, facing a large crowd of goblins and hobgoblins. Determined, the group formed by Ike, Mars, Zeke, and a confident woman prepares for the decisive battle ahead. The group arrives at a large door inside the labyrinth after facing a crowd of goblins. The gate's imposing presence suggests something important lies beyond, raising tension before the next challenge. They face a new threat when opening the gate, a huge goblin horde led by an imposing, heavily armored warrior. Tension rises as they prepare for the decisive confrontation. The group encounters the Goblin General, an imposing and powerful figure ready to lead his followers into battle. Ike and Mars's parents prepare for battle, warning their sons to watch carefully while explaining the Goblin King is probably in the dungeon's deepest part, making the place suitable for beginners. The couple activates their special skills, creating an earth fortress and an ice fortress as they face the goblins' advance. The earth and ice fortresses protect the group, while the Goblin General commands his soldiers to attack, raising his axe for combat. The earth and ice fortresses begin to break under the Goblin General and his followers' attack, but the team receives orders to attack immediately, preparing for the decisive battle. The Goblin General fights off the surrounding goblins with impressive strength and endurance, surprising Ike and Mars as they watch the battle, amazed by the enemy's power. The Goblin General, exhausted and wounded, falls defeated before the hero's victory, while his followers lie on the ground around him, marking the battle's end. After the battle, the protagonists celebrate their victory. The parents ask how it went, and the children respond enthusiastically that it was truly amazing. The family shows unity and satisfaction with the result. In Gran Azam, the Labyrinth City, Clara is gently petting a small animal, finding it adorable. Suddenly, someone runs to her with a worried expression, shouting that something terrible happened, leaving Clara confused. A wounded man lies in a hospital room bed. He asks to be healed, and the healer replies affirmatively. Other patients rest in the room while a woman enters. A healer concentrates her power, emitting intense light from her hands as she casts a healing spell. Her expression is determined, focused on restoring the patient's health. They find the room where the Goblin General constantly resurrects even after defeat. Aware of the challenge, they decide this will be their training ground to improve their skills. They begin fighting goblins and the Goblin General, determined to defeat them alone to prove their strength. The battle starts with coordinated attacks and quick maneuvers from both sides. 1 year later, Mars demonstrates his skill and strength in battle, facing the Goblin General with dexterity and power. Ike and Mars show their high levels and attributes after intense training, impressing everyone with their performance. With that, they are ready to advance to their next mission. They arrive at the 3rd floor, facing a large and imposing door that seems to be the boss's chamber. Determined, they prepare to enter and face the challenge ahead. They advance into the boss room and encounter the Goblin Lord, a powerful and imposing enemy guarded by 2 heavily armored guards. Tension rises as they get ready for the decisive confrontation. The mighty Goblin King sits on his throne with an arrogant, careless expression, ready to face any challenge before him. His imposing presence dominates the room. The Goblin King reveals his impressive powers, highlighting his recovery ability and monster summoning. Surprised, the group watches as he begins casting a summoning spell. Mars calls his parents, warning them of the imminent danger. The armored guards appear to protect Mars and Ike, saying they will handle the situation. Determined, the brothers prepare to face the enemies, fully focused on the upcoming battle. Mars and Ike attack swiftly and precisely, taking down the armored guards. Their parents watch in surprise at their children's determined actions on the battlefield. Mars and Ike face the Goblin King in battle. Agile and working as a team, they attack the powerful foe, while their parents watch anxiously, worried about how the fight will unfold. Mars and Ike press forward determinedly against the Goblin King, dodging his attacks while delivering powerful joint strikes. The fight is intense and decisive, with the brothers showing courage and skill to face the strong enemy. They continue to fight fiercely, dodging and counterattacking with precision. The combat is intense, with the king showing strength and endurance while the brothers remain determined to defeat him. During the battle, Ike lowers his guard momentarily and is hit, getting injured. Mars, concerned, calls to his brother while the fight against the Goblin King continues fiercely. Mars tries to heal Ike, but the enemy gives no time. Determined, Mars decides to face the Goblin King alone. Mars faces the Goblin King, dodging powerful attacks and looking for an opening to counterattack. He prepares for the decisive strike, focusing all his determination and strength as the enemy rapidly advances toward him. Mars fights the Goblin King with agility and resolve, dodging attacks and countering precisely, showing skill and focus in the battle. The Goblin King uses his summoning magic to call reinforcements, surprising Mars and his allies by summoning a new wave of enemies to the battlefield. Mars uses his magical skill, Tornado, to strike forcefully, creating a powerful whirlwind that surprises the enemies in battle. He unleashes his full magical power in a devastating attack on the Goblin King, leaving him frightened and exhausted. After the attack, Mars admits he's depleted all his MP but keeps a determined smile. Mars defeats the Goblin King and earns 2 important titles: Wind King for the world's top 10 wind mages, and Goblin Exterminator, granting attack and defense bonuses against goblins. He also receives a special armor called Ifrit, Phantom Flame Mantle, which boosts his magic and resistance. Mars and Ike are recognized for clearing the dungeon between just the 2 of them. Mars reveals the titles he earned. Everyone is impressed and congratulates him for the incredible feat. Clara says goodbye to her parents and sets off for another dungeon adventure with an optimistic smile and the promise not to overexert herself. Dedicated to her role as a healer, Claris helps her village's patients with her healing power. She's been treating many recently, always smiling and ready to help the next person. Claris hears worrying reports about kobolds appearing in the city, which unsettles her with the possibility that the labyrinth is overflowing. Thoughtful, she walks through the city and stops at a bathhouse, lost in her thoughts about this troubling situation. She relaxes in the bathhouse, feeling the comfort and relief of the hot waters, enjoying a calm and refreshing moment. While relaxing, Claris notices the growing number of injured and monsters in the city. She worries about the labyrinth's possible overflow and hopes nothing serious happens. After finishing her bath, Claris feels renewed and happy to find her pet cat, showing joy and affection as she cares for him. The number of monsters in a labyrinth dungeon is relatively constant, but for some reason, their numbers can keep growing. until they can no longer be contained and overflow outside. This phenomenon is known as Labyrinth overflow. She understands the situation and confirms it. The man explains this phenomenon rarely happens, and although worrying, it's uncommon, which calms everyone a bit. She thanks him for the treatment and cheers up as she receives her food, enjoying the delicious taste. The Count Beetle's knights prepare to exterminate monsters, aiming to prevent Labyrinth overflow and protect the residents and the Count himself. The Count Beetle's knights arrive at the Labyrinth gate but are surprised and confused to find it closed, indicating something unexpected has happened. The knights face an unexpected flood of goblins escaping from the labyrinth. Alarmed and surprised, they prepare to confront the new threat surrounding them. The battle intensifies as the knights resist with all their might, trying to hold back the goblin advance that grows stronger. The situation is desperate, watched with concern by those on the tower, aware of the looming danger. The city panics at the news of the labyrinth's overflow, forcing residents to evacuate immediately. Clarice is called to return home quickly, while adults recognize the seriousness of the situation, worried about imminent dangers. Upon hearing that an adventurer was taken down, Clarice commits immediately to help, running through the city to provide aid as soon as possible. Clarice fights goblins in the city, helping defend the residents. She uses her healing magic to quickly restore the injured's health, ensuring they recover well after the attack. The city's defenders, including Clarice and residents, prepare for a new goblin attack. Even children are doing their part, and adults become encouraged to strengthen the defense against the growing threat. The city is surprised by a monster horde invading the streets, causing panic and despair among residents trying to flee the unexpected attack. The city's forces reach their limit fighting the invading monsters. With no options left, the inhabitants decide to face the threat directly, while Clarice focuses on healing the wounded, especially her parents, amid the chaos and despair. Clarice's father returns injured, but insists she prioritize healing the adventurers, even if it means neglecting his own recovery. Clarice hesitates, torn between concern for her father and duty to others. The wounded start desperately arguing over who should be treated first, each claiming their injuries are worse. The situation quickly becomes chaotic, with everyone talking over each other until Clarice orders them to step back so she can act. An arrogant noble demands to be treated first, using his social status to jump ahead, causing more tension in the line. Clarice watches seriously, ready to handle the challenge. The noble quickly asks Clarice to treat a scratch on his arm, downplaying the injury's severity. Clarice politely informs him she will prioritize adventurers first, postponing the noble's minor wound. The noble scorns Clarice's response and aggressively reprimands her, leaving her surprised. Those present are shocked by his reaction. The noble threatens Clarice with a blow, accusing her of lese majesty, while she shields herself, shocked by the unexpected aggression. Clarice's father appears injured and begs forgiveness for his daughter, while the noble shows anger and advances, questioning if he too will interfere with his plans. Clarice desperately tries to heal her injured father, but runs out of mana, leaving her in despair and tears. The enraged man declares everyone is doomed to die and demands they pay with their lives. The monster crowd charges the residents, but the man with the sword stands firm, preparing to defend them all. His expression is determined, ready to face the coming battle. The young man charges with speed and strength, delivering a powerful strike that sends the man flying back with impact, surprising everyone around. The tension rises as the fight intensifies. Determined and focused, the young man moves toward the next challenge with a firm, resolved gaze, ready to face whatever comes next. His determination is palpable, reflecting the inner strength guiding him. Worried, the population watches the city's devastation, while Clarice and Mars work tirelessly to heal the wounded. They dedicate themselves without rest to ease the pain of those affected by the chaos, showing courage and compassion amid adversity. Mars decides it's time to focus on fighting goblins, leaving explanations for later. He shows determination and leadership, while the others rest, ready to face upcoming challenges. The city's people watch with surprise and admiration. Clarice, impressed, recognizes the greatness of the person before her. Mars defeated all the goblins alone, leaving a trail of fallen enemies through the streets. The crowd thanks and celebrates Mars for the victory. However, he notices the worrying presence of Count Beetle, highlighting a problem related to the nobles that must be faced. Authorities call the wounded for treatment, prioritizing the most serious cases. Count Beetle demands priority care, claiming to have been attacked by an unknown assailant, while others follow medical instructions to wait. Count Beetle complains about not being prioritized in treatment, citing his noble status. Baron Dames reprimands him firmly, and the Count blames the situation on a despicable individual, showing his desperation and frustration. Clarice thanks Mars for saving her life, showing gratitude and joy. Mars is surprised to realize Clarice speaks Japanese, something unexpected to him. Mars realizes Clarice truly reincarnated. Relieved, they embrace emotionally, happy to have finally reunited after so long. Mars and Clarice formally introduce themselves. Mars explains he's learning the local language to communicate better. He also introduces his wife, Elena. A stranger appears, asking for their attention, causing surprise. During a family conversation, Mars reveals he came from the Balkis kingdom. This surprises those present, since they are in Grand Zam, a labyrinth city in eastern Zakam kingdom. He explains he was exploring a dungeon with his older brother Ike. While investigating a room, Mars and Ike find a magically infused wall. When Mars touches it, he feels his hand being pulled and decides to explore deeper. He gives Ike a locator crystal and asks him to inform their father if anything happens. Then Mars is completely enveloped by magic and transported elsewhere. Mars discovers the kingdoms of Zakam and Balkis are at war. Given the situation, Clarice's family invites him to stay with them for a while. Smiling, Mars accepts the hospitality offer, showing gratitude and respect. Excited to finally call Mars by name, Clarice asks to speak with him. With her father's consent, she quickly grabs his hand and takes him straight to her room, leaving everyone in the living room confused by her sudden urgency. In the room, Clarice and Mars sit to talk. He asks what happened after she was struck by lightning. As she listens, Mars begins recounting everything he's experienced since then, while images from their past, like their deaths and reincarnations, appear, symbolizing shared memories and a fate that reunited them. Clarice understands the thief who wronged them was also reincarnated in this world. They decide to avoid speaking Japanese in public. Suddenly, as they walk together exchanging cautious glances, they notice soldiers moving nearby. Mars observes and confirms. Goblins have appeared again. Mars decides to leave immediately to help against the new goblin threat. Clarice is shocked by his decision and asks if he really intends to help people from the enemy country. Firmly, Mars declares, "Borders don't define the value of life. People are people." Clarice watches silently, moved, as he promises to protect them to the end, regardless of their origin. Emotional, Clarice thanks Mars with a tight hug. Upon learning goblins have returned to attack, Mars volunteers without hesitation. With his sword in hand and determined look, he announces he will also fight. The man admits he can no longer stay by Mars's side, worried his origin might be revealed. Mars, however, smiles calmly and says he's already prepared. Determined, he runs through the city streets toward the next confrontation. Mars runs determined, sword in hand, and reaches the group of knights led by Count Beetle. Asking permission to fight alongside them, he is immediately recognized by the arrogant Baron from before, who, enraged, threatens to punish him for past deeds. The Count initially orders Mars to step back, irritated by the sword theft accusation. However, a knight intervenes, revealing Mars was the one who eliminated all the goblins alone. Surprised, the Count reconsiders and asks if he can trust Mars. Confident, Mars promises to ensure the enemy's defeat, earning approval to fight alongside them. Captain Blair, severely pressured, watches her knights fall in battle as the enemy advances. Knowing they've reached their limit, she hesitates to retreat, as this would put the injured and city citizens at risk. Tension grows amid the difficult decision she must make. Even facing imminent defeat, Captain Blair decides to hold her ground. With firmness and resignation, she prepares her sword, determined to act as a shield to protect the civilians and the wounded. The threat before her rises brutally, but she faces the danger with courage, ready to buy as much time as possible. The creature raises its improvised weapon and strikes brutally, hitting the captain with overwhelming force. The violent impact throws her body away, while the troops watch, shocked and powerless against the difference in strength. The threat proves fiercer than expected. The young warrior appears confidently and eliminates the last enemy, ending the confrontation. The soldiers, relieved, recognize the legendary figure before them, the Sword Saint. He assures that all goblins have been defeated and invites the others to return, certain the danger is past. The victory reignites hope among the wounded and exhausted. After the battle, the young man is greeted with applause as soldiers cheer his victory. The commander expresses gratitude, stating that Granzam City was saved thanks to him. Seriously, he mentions that rewards and future plans will be dealt with later. The warrior accepts with a smile and readiness. At the Adventurers Guild, the guildmaster personally thanks the young man for saving the city. The commander asks for his name, and he introduces himself as Mars. Then Mars confidently asks for the floor, ready to pose an important question. Mars directly questions the guildmaster about how to stop the labyrinth overflow. The master explains that clearing the labyrinth should solve the problem, but due to the war, the kingdom has no soldiers available. Thus, there's no forecast for the next clearing, making Mars aware of the severity and urgency of the situation. Determined to prevent the overflow, Mars declares he will clear the labyrinth alone. The reaction is immediate. The guildmaster and others try to dissuade him, reminding that even experienced adventurer groups haven't survived. Tension rises before the courage or recklessness of his decision. Clarice interrupts the conversation with determination and announces she will go with Mars. The declaration surprises everyone, especially the guildmaster, who reacts astonished. Her determined look reveals nothing will make her back down from facing danger alongside him. The guildmaster tries to prevent Clarice from joining Mars, claiming the mission is too dangerous. However, she responds firmly, arguing the risk of labyrinth overflow is even greater. Mars supports her decision, stating their chances of success increase with Clarice by his side. Faced with their conviction, he reinforces the request to let her go. Given Mars and Clarice's determination, the superiors agree to support them in the mission. When asked about a reward, Mars surprises by asking to guarantee the safety of the Lampard family, revealing his priority as those he loves. Clarice is visibly moved by the gesture. The commander personally guarantees protection for the Lampard family in response to Mars's request. After explaining the conflict with the noble, the two youths are recognized for their courage. Mars is officially registered as an adventurer, and the superiors admire their bravery. Clarice's parents confidently accept her decision to accompany Mars. As Mars prepares to leave, he reflects on the responsibility to protect Clarice and strengthen the city. He takes on the mission to make her stronger, promising she will be able to handle everything on her own, receiving silent support from an elder who entrusts him with this task. The next day, Mars and Clarice prepare to start training. Determined to strengthen her before facing the labyrinth, Mars decides to analyze her stats with the special skill Tengen. Both are motivated and ready to begin the challenge that will make them stronger. Mars analyzes Clarice's attributes and discovers she has natural talent for barrier magic. Surprised, she admits she doesn't know how to use it. Even so, Mars encourages her to start with the basics, determined to train her with what they can already do. During training, Clarice reveals that, besides barrier magic, she also has skills with wind magic and some holy magic. Mars is impressed and asks what's the fastest way to level up. She guesses by working harder, but he suggests there's another correct answer. Clarice faces a goblin for her first real combat. Unsure and surprised by the sword's weight, she questions if she can really defeat an enemy. Meanwhile, Mars watches and guides her to stay focused. Clarice is hit by the goblin during training and falls, hurt and shaken. Mars approaches worried, but she insists she's fine. Given the situation, he considers quitting the training, saying he could clear the labyrinth alone, while Clarice remains silent, visibly frustrated. Clarice vents to Mars, revealing her frustration for not acting when her father was hurt by the noble. Determined not to be powerless again, she declares her wish to become strong enough to protect herself and her family. With conviction in her eyes, she asks for another chance to train. Mars smiles, accepts, and encourages them to grow stronger together. Clarice faces another goblin with more confidence after Mars's encouragement. She adjusts her stance, determined to use the sword's weight to her advantage. The goblin advances quickly, but this time she doesn't back down. With focused eyes and steady mind, she prepares to strike at the right moment, repeating to herself that she can do it. Clarice gathers all her strength and concentration, and at the right moment, delivers a precise blow, defeating the goblin before her. With firm eyes and determined posture, she shows her progress. Mars watches proudly and praises her performance, while Clarice looks surprised at the fallen enemy, absorbing her first real victory. After defeating the goblin, Clarice is moved and, overcome with relief, sheds tears while smiling. All the tension dissipates, and her sincere laughter reflects overcoming fear. Beside Mars, she takes her first step as someone willing to become stronger. Clarice trained tirelessly every day until she could no longer hold her sword. Over time, she steadily improved, honing her combat skills. As she fought battles, she earned new magical equipment, increasing her power and agility. Her growth was visible and determined. She kept getting stronger. While walking through the city, Mars and Clarice discuss the unusual number of unfamiliar faces. Mars reveals many outsiders have started visiting the local clinic. This explains the strange activity they noticed recently. Suddenly, something catches Mars's attention, interrupting the conversation with a surprised look. Mars has a strange feeling, sensing he's being watched. Clarice notices his hesitation, but he hides it. Trying to lighten the mood, she cheerfully suggests a meat dinner to recharge, and he agrees. As they walk happily, a hooded figure watches them discreetly from a distance, with a cold, attentive gaze. Clarice faces an imposing goblin general. Confident, she stares firmly. Her stats appear on screen. Level 20, high physical strength, multiple magics, and advanced skills. With this power, she can now face a high-ranking enemy alone. Clarice starts the fight against the Goblin General, keeping her distance, using learned tactics. Concentrated, she traces a magical line on the ground, creating a light trap. As the enemy approaches, she readies her magic bow and fires precisely, aiming to blind the creature and gain strategic advantage. Clarice executes her strategy precisely. After blinding the Goblin General, she destabilizes him with continuous shots, targeting legs and arms. While the enemy reacts disoriented, she stays calm and continues the ranged attack, wearing him down bit by bit. Determined, she prepares for the final blow, showing her progress and courage. Clarice finishes the fight with a precise shot from her magic arrow, hitting the Goblin General directly. The enemy falls defeated. Surprised and relieved, she watches silently until a satisfied smile appears. With conviction, she acknowledges her victory. Clarice celebrates joyfully after defeating the Goblin General, jumping and shouting her win. Mars congratulates her with a proud smile, recognizing she's ready. Grateful, Clarice thanks him for all the support and training. Together, they decide to take a break and return after this great progress. After intense training and battles, Clarice enjoys a well-deserved rest, happily eating a meal. Delighted by the flavor, she eats enthusiastically, watched with a smile by Mars, who stresses the importance of eating well after so much effort. The mood is light and full of camaraderie. While Mars and Clarice share a peaceful meal under the open sky, he silently reflects on the imminent end of this peaceful time, if they succeed in the labyrinth the next day. Clarice notices his distant look and asks what's wrong. Mars brushes it off with a casual comment, keeping the mood light despite the approaching tension. On the day of the Labyrinth mission, Mars feels a strange presence watching them and shares this with Count Beetle. The Count confirms he's felt something similar for some time, but says today it's stronger. Despite the distrust, he assures Mars he's taken precautions against possible threats, asking the young adventurer to focus on the main mission. Mars agrees but stays alert, aware something is wrong. The mission in the labyrinth begins with the troop led by Count Beetle clearing the path through enemy creatures. After an intense battle with goblins, the knights advance as far as possible. Then Beetle announces that's the escort limit. From here on, Mars and Clarice must proceed alone. Confidently, Mars agrees, taking responsibility for the next mission stage. Mars and Clarice advance through the labyrinth's depths, accompanied by a knight's escort. After fighting many enemies, they reach an imposing door, the boss room. Determined, Mars takes the lead and says to leave the fight to him. Clarice, confident, agrees and prepares for what's coming. The final confrontation is about to begin. Before the immense door, Mars and Clarice face the true challenge, the Goblin King. The intimidating creature, with brutal strength and threatening presence, appears with high stats, signaling a high-level fight. Mars, confident and sword in hand, faces the creature without hesitation. Clarice follows closely, determined. The battle against the Labyrinth boss is about to start. The Goblin King stands colossal and brutal, far beyond any enemy faced so far. His monstrous strength and intimidating aura momentarily paralyze Clarice, aware this creature is completely different from previous goblins. Mars, firm beside her, prepares his sword, facing the threat seriously. The true battle begins now, against an opponent demanding all their strength and courage. With a devastating magic strike, Mars conjures a powerful tornado dominating the battlefield. The attack's force is such that Clarice watches, surprised, as the threat ends before them. Victory is clear. The labyrinth is conquered. Relieved, the two prepare to return, aware they overcame another deadly challenge together. While Mars and Clarice celebrate the labyrinth's conquest, a new scene reveals the threat still lingers. A vile and manipulative noble secretly celebrates, confident in his dark plan's success. However, his joy is abruptly interrupted when an official bursts in, declaring his imminent downfall. The plot thickens, making clear the true political and moral battle is about to start. While Mars and allies focus on the Labyrinth mission, a new enemy emerges from the shadows. An ambitious man uses his fortune to hire 200 mercenaries aiming to seize control of the city. His bold plan includes subjugating Count Beetle's knights and staging a coup. Convinced of victory, he sees himself as the city's future ruler, laughing triumphantly amid troops marching toward rebellion. The noble conspirator is shocked to find his mercenaries no longer under his control. Staring in disbelief, he faces Count Beetle, who appears imposing before him. The Count and guards at the door indicate the coup was thwarted. The tense atmosphere signals the traitor is about to face consequences. Mars and Clarice return from the Labyrinth mission and are enthusiastically greeted by the guards. Their mission success is acknowledged, and both are praised for their feat. A soldier leads them to the Count, who awaits them at his mansion, while Clarice walks proudly beside Mars. Arriving at Count Beetle's mansion, Mars and Clarice are received with relief and enthusiasm by the Count, who shows happiness at their safe return. However, upon entering the main hall, Mars encounters an unexpected scene, guards on alert, and a tense atmosphere. Surprised, he asks what is happening. While Mars and Clarice face the Labyrinth, the Count reveals Damez tried to start a coup. Fortunately, his suspicious actions had been closely monitored as he hired mercenaries and stockpiled weapons and potions. Thanks to early surveillance, they stopped him before the situation got out of control. Damez Barker, identified as the mastermind behind the coup attempt, is formally condemned. The baronial Barker family will be stripped of their titles and enslaved. Without further delay, Damez is taken by authorities, ending his failed plan. Mars and Clarice receive official thanks for conquering the Labyrinth. Recognized for their bravery and effort, they are declared national heroes before all, with determined looks and serene expressions of pride. Grey Lampard is honored with the title of Baron for his contribution. He is then reminded of an important decision to be made, which he promises to discuss with his family. Meanwhile, Mars is invited to spend the night at the mansion, accepting the offer with an excited smile. During a banquet held in his honor, Mars enjoys the food while Count Beetle apologizes for secretly monitoring him, explaining it was a precaution due to the Damez case. Mars, understanding, says it's all right. Afterwards, the mood grows serious as the Count proposes to address the main issue. During the dinner conversation, Count Beetle reveals he already knows Mars's true identity. He is Mars Bryant from the Balkis Kingdom. Surprised at being discovered, Mars tenses, but the Count reassures him he means no threat. The Count explains he found out when trying to register him as an adventurer. The name Mars was already in Valk's kingdom's system. Mars then shares his story and admits he can't return home because of teleportation. Count Beetle confirms he will arrange Mars's return to Balkis kingdom. Surprised and grateful, Mars thanks him immediately. The Count informs preparations will take about a week, and that before that, he will send a letter to assure Mars's safety. The scene ends with a view of the mansion at night, marking the countdown for the next stage of the journey. On the eve of farewell, Mars is warmly thanked by the Lampard family and the soldiers, acknowledging that his courage saved them all. Before Clarice's sincere words and Mars's emotional smile, the moment becomes a silent goodbye filled with gratitude and affection. Clarice emotionally says goodbye to her parents, thanking them for everything and surprising everyone by announcing she will leave. With a determined smile and tears in her eyes, she joins Mars, leaving him surprised by her unexpected choice. Determined and moved, Clarice declares she wants to travel alongside Mars. While her parents cry with pride and emotion, she says goodbye, promising to return stronger. With a confident smile, she sets off for a new chapter of her journey. Mars and Clarice depart together on a new journey, leaving the city with vows of care and hope. With smiles and emotional farewells, they board the carriage, determined to face whatever lies ahead. Mars and Clarice's journey proceeds calmly, filled with laughter and companionship. They enjoy every moment, sharing meals and lighthearted feelings until they reach a certain town, where the calm atmosphere promises to change. During a stop at the town inn, Mars hears a desperate merchant requesting an urgent mission. A slave fled to the Forbidden Forest, and the man begs for help. Mars attentively observes the situation as the mood shifts with the urgent request. The merchant reveals the runaway slave is an elven child and, desperate, raises the reward to 100 gold coins, a sum considered outrageous by those present. Tension grows among the adventurers. Calmly, Mars asks Clarice if they're ready to leave, already aware something bigger lies behind the mission. The merchant insists on recovering the slave despite the extreme risk of the Forbidden Forest, a place where even rank B groups are wiped out. One present tries to argue that life is more important than money, but Mars firmly and without hesitation rejects the proposal, advising the merchant to give up on the slave. During the carriage ride, Clarice asks Mars if he's ever seen an elf, and both admit they never have. Curious, she asks if they will pass near the Forbidden Forest. Mars checks the map and confirms they will, which puts him on alert as he notices something unexpected on the route. During the journey, Mars doubts the route through the Forbidden Forest, questioning the choice since a safer alternative should have been arranged. Suddenly, he is alerted by something ahead and spots a figure running along the road, immediately grabbing his attention. A young elf girl runs desperately down the road, pursued by a gigantic black snake. The creature's size surprises, indicating an unprecedented threat, putting the girl in extreme danger. Sensing the imminent danger, Mars jumps from the carriage to face the huge snake rapidly approaching. Meanwhile, Clarice takes responsibility for protecting the fleeing elf girl. The duo acts swiftly and precisely against the threat. Mars fights the giant snake skillfully, landing precise strikes while dodging the creature's violent attacks. Despite the size disadvantage, he stays calm and keeps battling determinedly. The fight is intense, demanding agility and strength with every move. Mars realizes the serpent is stronger than any enemy faced before, including the Goblin King. His normal attacks are ineffective, and he discovers the monster is still venomous. Using his special skill, he analyzes the creature's status and concludes he'll need a much more powerful technique to defeat it. Claris arrives to assist in the fight against the enormous serpent. The creature spits venom, demanding caution. While Claris confronts it with her blade, the boy asks for time to complete something. He stands firm, trusting that she can hold the creature off for a few more moments. As the serpent prepares to strike, the boy summons a powerful magic, concentrating fiery energy in his hands. The creature charges at high speed, catching Claris by surprise. Even in the face of the imminent threat, the boy remains steadfast, repeating that he needs just one more moment. Claris shouts desperately as she sees the danger approaching, but he does not back down, determined to finish the spell. A powerful explosion hits the serpent, destroying part of its body and halting its advance. The boy watches the impact in surprise, but soon adopts a determined stance. With energy concentrated in both hands, one spiraling and the other ablaze, he prepares to launch his final attack. With the spell finally ready, the boy releases his magic at full force. A powerful spiral fire attack, the Firestorm, is unleashed directly at the serpent, engulfing it in intense flames as he stands firm, determined to end the threat once and for all. After the intense battle, the boy praises the defensive magic used by Claris, impressed by its effectiveness. She admits she was desperate but happy it worked. They confirm that the barrier spell was crucial for their survival. Then the boy asks about the elf child, and Claris informs him that she safely took her to the carriage. Inside the carriage, the elf child curls up, frightened, fearing she will be returned to the merchant. When asked about her condition, she panics and begs not to be taken back, crying and screaming desperately. With a serious expression, the boy assures her they will not hand her over to the merchant, trying to calm her down. Upon hearing the confirmation that she will not be given back to the merchant, the elf child, still in shock, asks if it's true. After receiving a firm and comforting answer, she becomes emotional, runs and throws herself into Claris's arms, crying with relief. Claris embraces her calmly, while the boy watches the scene with a peaceful expression. The elf child reveals what happened. She was deceived by people who promised to take her to her mother, but instead captured and sold her. Amid painful memories, she expresses her desire to reunite with her mother. Claris comforts her with a hug, and the boy promptly agrees to help her, determined to bring her back to her family. Emotional and in tears, the elf child deeply thanks them for saving her. Claris and the boy warmly welcome her and promise to help her find her mother. Touched by the gesture, she expresses her gratitude with sincere words, revealing all the relief and hope she feels. With the situation resolved, Mars and Claris formally introduce themselves to Misha. Now united, the three set off with a new goal: to find the young elf's mother. The journey continues, but with a renewed and more meaningful purpose. Before continuing their travel, Misha suggests everyone take a bath. Mars agrees and, using earth magic, creates a structure for it. The group prepares to clean themselves and regain energy after the intense events. Mars completes the bath setup with magic. First, he summons water to fill the structure created with earth magic. Then, he heats the water using fire magic, ensuring everyone can bathe comfortably. With everything ready, Mars announces the improvised bath is complete. Claris and Misha are impressed with the result, showing surprise and admiration. The group can now relax and clean up after the intense events. After the bath, Misha appears wearing clothes lent by Claris, slightly large but fitting well. Delighted by her appearance, she feels excited and thanks them happily. The group decides to depart before nightfall, starting the next stage of the journey toward reuniting Misha with her mother. The group arrives at a new town, shrouded in a suspicious atmosphere. The place, known for being avoided by the Count of Beetle, is filled with shady figures and clearly unsuitable for children. The environment suggests imminent danger, indicating that more serious challenges await them. While exploring the town, Mars and the others walk among the local residents and merchants. A suspicious vendor approaches Mars, offering a sword, trying to convince him with an obviously inflated price. Mars immediately perceives the scam attempt, rejecting the offer without being fooled. The vendor insists, trying to force the sale with deceptive promises. Even under pressure, Mars politely refuses, saying he is fine and has no money. Ignoring the insistence, he walks away, leaving the man frustrated behind, still trying to convince him with a sly smile. Mars goes to the local counter seeking a mission and also asks about lodging. Unfortunately, he is informed that no missions are available at the moment. However, the attendant points out an inn just across the street. Mars thanks him politely, and heads toward the indicated place. During the night, Mars realizes he's being followed. He hears a call and turns around, finding a suspicious group including the dishonest vendor who tried to trick him earlier. One of the members states they have been looking for him, indicating the situation is about to become more dangerous. The vendor aggressively insists, shouting for Mars not to miss the opportunity. Even firmly refusing, Mars is surrounded by the man's accomplices. Within seconds, the bandits grab him forcefully, trying to capture him by force. The situation quickly escalates into a physical confrontation. Mars reacts swiftly to the attack. With skill and strength, he breaks free from the assailants, throwing one of them into the air. The fight intensifies, and one of the bandits tries to strike him with a sword, but Mars dodges precisely. His stance changes completely. Now he is ready to retaliate seriously. Mars maintains a combat position after taking down some enemies. The remaining men comment about selling him at an auction, revealing their cruel intentions. Confused and alert, Mars wonders what they mean by auction, realizing he is involved in something even darker than he imagined. Upon hearing that the bandits also captured two girls, Mars realizes with horror that they are Claris and Misha. Overcome with urgency, he understands he must act immediately. The image of the two in danger rekindles his determination. He will not allow anything to happen to them. Mars, controlling his anger and acting strategically, pretends to surrender to find out where Claris and Misha are. He hands over his sword and allows himself to be handcuffed, stating he will cooperate. One of the captors, satisfied with the apparent submission, puts on the cuffs and sarcastically comments that he likes obedient children, unaware of Mars's real plan. Mars is taken to a luxurious building where the captors present him as a premium quality product. Proudly, they claim to have brought the boy as requested, calling for someone named Hito-san. Despite the situation, Mars keeps a serious and alert look, clearly waiting for the right moment to act. Mars is brought before the operations leader, a stylish and smiling man, clearly responsible for the illegal auction. Pleased with the capture, the leader orders Mars to be taken to the premium products room. Despite his refined appearance, his words make clear that everything here revolves around profit from human trafficking. Mars watches everything attentively, gathering information to act at the right moment. Mars finally finds Claris and Misha. He storms the place firmly, ordering no one to touch the girls. Relieved, they run toward him. Claris calls him joyfully, and Misha shows contained emotion. Mars smiles calmly, asking for silence while checking if both are okay. The reunion marks a turning point. He managed to reach them before something worse happened. Mars is relieved to learn that Claris and Misha were not harmed, even though they were treated as products. Claris apologizes for being captured, but Mars replies with a kind smile, saying it's all right. Misha, still shaken, clings to Claris and confesses she is scared, revealing the emotional gravity of the trauma endured. Mars reveals he allowed himself to be captured deliberately to rescue Claris and Misha. With a serene smile, he assures them everything is under control and promises to save them completely. Misha, moved by his words, listens as Mars reinforces his commitment. Soon they will go together to find her mother. He only asks them to hold on a little longer. Misha smiles confidently and accepts Mars's plan. Shortly after, the captors abruptly enter the room, ordering everyone out. Under guard, the group is led through the building's corridors. Mars stays firm, while Claris and Misha follow him, fully trusting his rescue plan. The group is taken to a large room where other prisoners await. Mars watches carefully and notices their weapons leaning against the back wall, a sign that the plan might still work. With a slight smile, he hides his tension and discreetly tells the girls, now it's just a matter of waiting for the right moment to act. The Hito Trading Company auction begins, presented with pomp by the masked host. He announces this will be the biggest exhibition in the company's history, encouraging the masked audience to participate enthusiastically. Meanwhile, Mars watches closely, waiting for the ideal moment to act and shut down this illegal operation. The auction starts with the presentation of a former nobleman as the first item, but the guests become annoyed and mock the choice, rejecting the starting bid. To calm the discontent, the masked host apologizes with a sinister smile and promises to immediately reveal the premium products, exactly what Mars expected to make the next move in his plan. The stage opens, revealing the premium items: Misha, Claris, and Mars. The host introduces them with absurdly mercantile descriptions, highlighting Misha's rare elven heritage, Claris's flawless beauty, and Mars's valuable potential. Each receives an initial bidding price. Despite the grotesque tone of the situation, the three remain firm, and Mars, with a determined look, prepares to act. The auction quickly intensifies. Bids skyrocket. 150 coins for the elf, 100 for the human girl, 200 for Mars, and even 800 for all three together. Excited by the competition, the host announces 1,000 gold coins for the trio. As buyers compete, Mars, Claris, and Misha stay calm, ready to turn the tables at the right moment. Amid the excited crowd and incessant bids, Misha begins to tremble, scared by the oppressive atmosphere of the auction. The host notices her reaction and tries to turn her fear into a spectacle, cynically commenting that her shyness pleases the buyers. Mars and Claris observe the situation seriously. The tension peaks and the turning point approaches. The auction reaches its climax with an absurd bid of 10,000 gold coins for the three together. The host begins to close the sale, announcing once, twice. Claris watches coldly, and the silence weighs heavily. Just as the hammer is about to fall, someone shouts, "Wait!" interrupting the conclusion. A decisive moment is near. The tension is about to explode. The door bursts open violently, revealing a new group led by a man named Gedu-sama, who declares that the elf, Misha, belongs to him. Surrounded by armed brutes, he arrogantly interrupts the auction, ignoring the bids. Two henchmen lying on the floor indicate his entry was brutal. The situation grows even more complicated, and the atmosphere of impending conflict dominates the hall. With a face full of fury, Godot shouts Hito's name, accusing him of daring to steal from him. His piercing gaze and evident anger make it clear he came to take Misha by force and is ready to confront anyone who interfered in his business. The tension between the two groups reaches its limit. The conflict is inevitable. Gedu orders his henchmen to attack immediately, shouting to crush anyone in their way. In response, Hito also commands his men to react, and the two groups rush toward the confrontation. Chaos erupts in the hall. The accumulated tension finally explodes into open battle. As Gedu and Hito exchange shouts, each rallying their men for the fight, the environment turns into a true war between factions. Amid the turmoil, Mars remains calm and sees the perfect opportunity. Beside Claris, he declares with determination, "This is our chance." The ideal moment to act and turn the tide. The battle erupts in intensity on the auction stage. Gedu's and Hito's guards clash violently, exchanging powerful blows. In the midst of chaos, Mars takes action, casting spells with precision. His magic attack, Ice Missile, flies across the field and freezes the ground, unbalancing enemies and creating space. Commanding the conflict with cold strategy, he weakens the enemy defenses and prepares the ground to turn the tide. Mars's magic attack transforms the hall into a real battlefield. Ice shards scatter across the floor as several enemies are thrown into the air or violently disarmed. The shocked expression on Mars's face quickly turns into focus. He sees his spells working, chaos sets in, and the auction participants flee in panic as the fight intensifies at the center of the room. The battle reaches its peak on the auction stage. Guards fight with weapons drawn while spells cut through the air. Amid the chaos, Mars watches closely and notices the advantage. Everyone is distracted, including the organizers and wealthy masked buyers, who panic and start fleeing desperately. Taking advantage of the confusion, Mars plans the next step with determination in his eyes. Seizing the widespread distraction, Mars moves in to free the prisoners. Just as one of the kidnappers tries to react, Mars neutralizes him with a spell aimed at the eyes, knocking him down. With the ropes mysteriously loosened, the young captives are free. However, when trying to act, Mars raises his hand to his face, complaining of discomfort in his eyes. Claris runs to him worriedly, while Misha points to a special sword fallen on the ground, a weapon that seems to have something different about it. With Mars recovered and wielding the special sword, Claris joins him, determined to fight. On the stage, one of the organizers notices the movement and panics upon seeing the children trying to escape. He orders his henchmen to capture them, but it is already too late. Chaos has taken over the arena. As a brute approaches laughing, eager for a fight, the masked warrior who had fought earlier appears swiftly and surprises him with an attack, ending his advance with a precise strike. The resistance is gaining strength, and chaos is total. As the battle continues, one of the henchmen jumps forward to attack with a farewell shout, but is intercepted with precision by the masked warrior. Then, Mars's ally also joins the fray, knocking down a brute with a swift and accurate move. The resistance grows stronger with every blow, showing that the escape attempt is far from being contained. With precision and efficiency, Mars's allies dominate their opponents. One fighter easily takes down a larger enemy, proving that size isn't everything. Next, another uses sleep magic to neutralize the stronger foes, leaving them unconscious without effort. Facing the swift defeat of his subordinates, the boss can only watch, frustrated, muttering about the uselessness of his henchmen. Faced with his men's defeat, the auction leader sees no other choice. and hands a bag of money to a mysterious cloaked warrior, begging him to resolve the situation. The imposing and calm man confirms the request. He only wants the enemies incapacitated. With payment accepted and the mission clear, he steps into the fight while the protagonists watch attentively the new challenge approaching. The hired warrior finally reveals his presence with authority. Wielding a gigantic sword, he stares coldly at everyone and imposes his condition. If they leave immediately, he will spare them. But if they choose to stay, he will show no mercy. With a threatening gaze and tension in the air, he gives them 5 seconds to decide. The atmosphere in the hall changes drastically, the silence broken only by the pressure of his presence. Upon seeing the giant swordsman's threat, the henchmen immediately spring into action. One shouts, "Formation B," and the 2 frontline fighters advance confidently to restrict the enemy's movements. Meanwhile, the group's mage begins preparing his spell, concentrating energy with a magic staff. The strategy is clear. Keep the opponent busy at the front line while the magical attack is finished. But the swordsman's gaze shows he will not be easily contained. The swordsman coldly watches the 2 enemies advancing as planned in Formation B. He understands the strategy. Distract him with a double offensive while the mage prepares a distant spell. But with a firm look, he concludes, "If I were a monster, maybe that would work." Without hesitation, he unleashes a powerful strike with his immense sword, cutting the ground ahead and easily interrupting the 2 opponents' advance. In his other hand, he calmly holds the bag of coins received, demonstrating that neither money nor brute force will buy his mercy. The swordsman puts an end to the enemy group's illusion of control with a devastating attack. In a single precise movement, he throws the bag of coins, the very bribe he received, directly at the mage preparing the spell. The impact is brutal. The blow breaks through the magical protection and strikes the caster's face, interrupting the enchantment before it could be cast. Shock spreads among the 2 frontline fighters, who watch stunned as their plan collapses with a single gesture. Their expressions reflect not only fear, but certainty that they underestimated a true warrior. The swordsman stares mercilessly and provocatively at his opponents, disrupting their coordination with a sarcastic question. "Hey, where are you looking?" The 2 adversaries try to react, improvising an attack formation. One defends, the other attacks. But it's already too late. The warrior perceives their movement and anticipates it with lethal precision. The pure terror on their faces reveals that they already sense the plan's failure. No common tactic will work against someone so far above their level. With an explosive movement, the swordsman delivers a devastating blow. The 2 opponents are lifted off the ground like puppets, their weapons flying along with their bodies, unable to react. The impact of the technique reveals the true disparity between them: brute strength and absolute control in a single attack. The scene ends with the warrior standing tall and imposing, while his enemies are thrown into the air. Completely dominated, the swordsman eliminates the entire enemy group with a single attack, leaving the vendor in total panic. Desperate, he tries to flee but is caught off guard by the relentless approach of the warrior, who prepares another devastating strike. The swordsman delivers a brutal blow that destroys part of the building's structure, leaving everyone in shock. While some watch frightened, others react with nervous laughter or confusion, unsure how to handle the devastating power displayed. After easily defeating all enemies, the warrior remains standing amid the chaos, surrounded by debris and the unconscious mage's body. The crowd panics and tries to flee, recognizing his monstrous strength. Meanwhile, the organization's leader watches, believing the only thing left is to capture the boy to complete his plans. However, the swordsman senses something wrong, suspicious of the situation and the presence of unexpectedly weak allies used by Hito. The warrior approaches slowly, imposing and threatening, staring distrustfully at the boy. Surprised, he questions how someone so young could be involved with such a despicable group. The atmosphere intensifies with tension between the 2 as the boy watches alert, aware of the overwhelming power approaching. The warrior tries to avoid confrontation and advises the boy to flee, saying he feels no pleasure in hurting children. But when interrupted, he roars ferociously, making clear he will not give another warning. The boy, even with his eyes affected, does not back down. In response to the threat, the warrior growls, demanding he get out of the way immediately. The tension between them reaches its peak. The boy feels something strange with his vision, but as he approaches the giant, he realizes something has enveloped and completely immobilized him. With the opponent defenseless before him, he positions himself with the sword in hand, ready to act. The boy, surprised by his own distorted vision, realizes he is seeing future possibilities. He anticipates the opponent's move and clearly sees the strike that would be delivered. Faced with the revelation, he He confirms he is seeing the future, and with that, manages to react in time to the attack. The boy surprises his opponent by dodging 2 attacks, something considered impossible, even though the adversary is holding back. Intrigued, the man asks who he is. Firmly, the boy answers that he possesses the divine eye and asks if the opponent would retreat knowing this, but he already notices, by the reaction, that the answer is no. The adversary reveals his name, Silas Wafer, and piques the boy's interest by demonstrating power. The boy activates his ability and sees Silas's impressive attributes, the highest he has ever encountered. Aware of the danger, he prepares for the confrontation, while Silas declares he will not let him escape. Silas attacks with surprising speed, catching the boy off guard. Even with sharp reflexes, the youth realizes he will not dodge in time. The impact seems inevitable, putting him in imminent danger. The boy tries to block Silas's powerful blow, but is overwhelmed by the enemy sword's crushing force. Even using his weapon, he is thrown back, feeling the brutal weight of the impact. The difference in strength between them is clear, and the boy struggles to stay standing. Despite Silas's overwhelming power, the boy demonstrates exceptional reflexes and talent, managing to block and dodge attacks with surprising precision. Even at a physical disadvantage, he maintains composure, forcing Silas to acknowledge his skills amid the fierce battle. Though impressed by the boy's talent, Silas warns him to abandon the fight, considering his skill a waste in that scenario. The boy, however, confronts him directly, questioning how someone so powerful could resort to slave trafficking. Determined, he challenges Silas's morals and commits to saving Clarice and Misha, even in the face of such a threat. The boy senses the imminent danger and reacts quickly upon seeing Clarice and Misha threatened. With a firm gesture, he invokes his magic, launching a powerful wind blade toward the enemy. The strike destroys part of the stage and forces the masked man to retreat, temporarily protecting the girls and regaining control of the situation. After casting the powerful magic protecting Clarice and Misha, the boy stands before everyone and firmly declares he is not an enemy. His attitude causes the warrior to withdraw, realizing he misjudged the situation. The boy then reveals that his true client has not yet been mentioned, bringing tension and expectation to the moment. As tension begins to ease inside the building, a hooded figure approaches quietly. With a firm and determined look, she reveals her identity: Sasha, Misha's mother. Her silent arrival announces a new development, carrying the weight of a mother determined to reclaim her daughter. After the intense confrontation, the atmosphere shifts from hostile to curious. The burly man asks the boy's name, who replies firmly, Mars. Impressed by the unusual skill he witnessed, he recognizes it was not just a sword technique. Meanwhile, the slave organizer, visibly unsettled by the sudden alliance between the two, orders the young elf to be brought in, trying to regain control of the situation. The slave organizer, overcome by fear, tries to retreat, but his legs give way and he falls to his knees. Desperate, he crawls on the floor until collapsing completely. Panic overwhelms him when something strikes him brutally from behind, making him scream in pain. The impact is as sudden as it is devastating, making clear his punishment has begun. As the masked man tries to escape through the main entrance, a mysterious figure watches from above. Suddenly, something is thrown toward Mars and the boy, forcing both to turn. Mars reacts quickly and intercepts the projectile with his giant sword, exclaiming in surprise upon noticing the unexpected arrival of a new opponent. Sasha appears above, imposing, interrupting the fight. Firmly, she shouts for the fighting to stop, making it clear Mars is not an enemy. Her presence commands respect, and her determined gaze shows she is ready to take control of the situation. Silas instructs Mars to go to the National Academy of Lister, a place where the strongest in the world gather. He emphasizes this is essential, and that Mars should mention his recommendation upon arrival. While Sasha thanks him quietly, Mars watches silently, absorbing the importance of his next destination. Misha runs toward her mother, shouting with joy. Sasha, previously rigid and silent, becomes emotional upon seeing her daughter running to her. The moment is marked by happiness and relief at their reunion, while everyone around watches the touching scene between mother and daughter with respect and emotion. Sasha and Misha run to each other, with tears in their eyes until they meet in a tight and emotional embrace. The mother holds her daughter tightly, relieved to have her back, while Misha cries with happiness. The reunion seals the end of suffering and marks a moment of tenderness and reconnection. Sasha comforts Misha with affection, relieved to hold her again. Misha complains that the hug is too tight, but soon reveals it is because she is resting against her mother's chest. The scene is marked by a moment of tenderness and promise. Sasha says she will never leave her daughter again. In the background, the others watch the reunion emotionally, aware that peace and unity have finally been restored. After the emotional reunion, Sasha thanks the boy for his effort, relieved that everything ended well. He returns the thanks with a sincere smile. Then, they all share what happened, while Misha, in her mother's arms, reveals she was saved thanks to him and the other girl. The atmosphere is now calm and grateful, closing the episode with unity and mutual recognition. After leaving the conflict site, everyone gathers at the inn where Sasha was staying. To regain energy, she prepared a hearty meal, welcoming everyone warmly. In a mood of relief and peace, the group shared the feast joyfully, enjoying the simple and warm moment after so much tension. The boy learns from Sasha that the city of Canal was formed by the concentration of criminals. This explained the hostile atmosphere and constant dangers. Count Beetle avoided this place precisely because it was extremely dangerous, especially for unaccompanied children. Sasha tries to thank the boy with a small amount of money for helping rescue Misha, explaining she had already spent a lot searching for her daughter. Although she considers the amount modest, the boy smiles and says it is more than enough. He states that they were happy to meet Misha, ending the moment with mutual gratitude and promises to meet again. As they say goodbye, Mars, Claris, and Misha exchange warm words. Mars promises a reunion. Claris waves with a gentle smile, and Misha says farewell enthusiastically. From afar, the group departs in a carriage, leaving Sasha and Misha waving on the road, grateful for the help and friendship that arose during the journey. After the emotional farewell, Mars and Claris continue their journey to a new city. Upon arriving at the gate of a large fortress, they cross the mountains and head to a local inn. There, Mars approaches the counter and politely asks the attendant if 2 rooms are available, holding some coins in his hand, ready to secure a peaceful stay. The girl asks if a single room would suffice for the night, offering the option of separate beds. The boy's expression reveals surprise and hesitation at the unexpected suggestion, while the atmosphere suddenly becomes heavier with tension and curiosity. In the room with 2 beds side by side, the two sit silently, visibly nervous. She looks away, hiding her face in her hands, shy. He smiles slightly, sweating, trying to maintain composure. The mood between them is filled with expectation and embarrassment, as if something is about to happen or be said. Claris and Mars try to break the awkwardness with a polite debate about who should use the bath first. Mars insists that Claris go first, claiming to be a gentleman, while she humorously retorts that men who call themselves gentlemen are suspicious. The exchange ends with both laughing together, finally easing the tension and naturally drawing closer. During the bath, Claris reflects on her decision to share the room with Mars. Although she justifies it with practical reasons, security, saving money, and fear of being kidnapped again, she shows embarrassment, trying to convince herself that she has no ulterior motives. Deep down, however, she admits to herself a more personal desire. She would like to grow closer to Mars. While Claris is still bathing, Mars notices the crystal he carries begins to glow intensely, a sign that his family is nearby. Excited, he hurriedly stands, barely containing his anxiety. He calls out to Claris, informing her he will leave for a moment to check. Confused and worried, she tries to stop him, but he's already out of the room, driven by hope to reunite with someone dear. Running through the city streets, Mars finally spots 2 familiar figures, his father and brother Ike, who also hold glowing crystals. Overcome with emotion, he shouts their names and runs toward them. The 3 meet in the middle of the street and embrace tightly, relieved and happy to finally be together again after so long apart. During the reunion, introductions are made with kindness and courtesy. Claris introduces herself as Claris Lampard, while Zeke Bryant, Mars's father, recognizes her from the name mentioned in Lord Beetle's letter. Ike, Mars's older brother, also introduces himself. Once everyone is seated at the table, Zeke suggests they talk while eating, and a hearty meal is served, marking the start of a warm family moment. During the meal, Mars shares everything he experienced, from the fight against the infernal serpent in the demon forest to his involvement with Misha, Sasha, and the auction. All listen attentively as they eat. At the end, his father, Zeke, fills with pride, enthusiastically praising him and calling him his pride and joy. Ike and the others are also impressed by all that happened. With everything ready to depart, Zeke asks if anyone forgot anything. After confirming all is well, he gives the order to continue the journey. Ike, Claris, and Mars board the carriage with smiles, ready to return home as the carriage sets off. As the carriage crosses the bridge toward the road back, the scenery transforms. On one side, the kingdom's gates close, protecting the castle under the watchful eyes of the royal guard. On the other, a dark vision rises in the distance, a fortress surrounded by lightning and black clouds, signaling a new threat lurking on the horizon. awaiting the next chapter of the journey. During the return journey, the group remains cheerful inside the carriage, sharing laughter and stories. Along the way, a surprise attack is swiftly handled by Mars, who neutralizes the enemy from afar with a single move. A mishap hits the horse, but Claris uses her healing magic to restore the animal. The sun sets on the horizon as the silhouette of the carriage moves steadily and calmly toward its next destination. The carriage passes through the city gates after a long trip. As they near their destination, the urban scene takes shape, revealing busy streets and elegant buildings. Upon arrival, someone announces with relief, "We've arrived." Upon reaching the mansion, an emotional woman recognizes Mars from afar and runs to greet him, shouting his name with tears in her eyes. The warm welcome continues with a "Welcome to our home," while Mars, beside Claris, watches everything with a slight smile, finally feeling at home. Mars is received with warm hugs by his family. He apologizes for worrying them and is met with an affectionate smile from his mother. His little sister runs excitedly to embrace him, showing how much she missed him. Claris watches the scene with a smile, noticing how much Mars is loved. Claris is introduced to Mars's mother, Maria Bryant, who welcomes her with a gentle smile. Showing respect, Claris bows politely and introduces herself. Maria, touched by the young woman's manners, thanks her kindly. The meeting between the two women marks a friendly and welcoming beginning. Mars's family prepares a warm reception. Everyone gathers in the living room and at the count of 1, 2, 3, raises their mugs in an enthusiastic toast. With sincere smiles, they say, "Welcome back, Mars," and "Welcome, Claris." Emotionally grateful, the two young people respond joyfully, "Thank you very much." The scene conveys a strong feeling of belonging and acceptance. Claris is warmly embraced by Mars's family. During dinner, Zeke states that everyone will help Claris feel at home, and Maria assures her support with a kind smile. Claris, moved, sincerely thanks them. Maria also reassures her not to hesitate to ask for help. In the end, Claris bows respectfully and asks Rena to take care of her, who, blushing and excited, responds enthusiastically, "I will." The bond between them begins to blossom like true sisters. From that moment, Rena follows Claris everywhere, as if they were inseparable. The two form a sisterly bond, sharing moments bathing, walking, and even sleeping. Meanwhile, Mars helps his father with family work, and Ike dedicates himself seriously to his studies. A month passes since then, bringing a new harmonious routine to everyone in the Bryant household. Receiving a request from Marquise Carmel to eliminate monsters from the Almeria dungeon, the Bryant family decides to accept the call. The father entrusts the mission to Ike, Mars, and Claris, asking them to take his place in exploration and combat. Determined, the three accept the responsibility and set out together on a new journey. Upon arriving in the city of Almeria, Mars, Ike, and Claris go to the guild barracks. There, a muscular adventurer notices Mars's good equipment and accuses him of stealing it. Mars denies the accusation and explains they acquired everything from treasure chests and dungeons. Provoked, the man challenges Mars to prove his combat skills, suggesting he fight to defend his honor. The duel between Mars and the muscular adventurer begins amid a curious crowd. The challenger threatens to take Mars's equipment if he fails to prove his strength. However, Mars demonstrates his superiority with a quick and precise strike, easily knocking down the opponent. The audience reacts with shock and admiration, while someone approaches intrigued by the commotion. Mars presents a letter in his father Zeke Bryant's name to the guild official, who recognizes him respectfully as a member of the Bryant family. The crowd, upon learning his origin, understands the reason for his strength. With the mission to eliminate monsters in the dungeon confirmed, he and his companions gain the guild's trust and officially take on the task. Mars, Ike, and Claris arrive before the imposing entrance of the Almeria dungeon. The place emanates mystery and tension. Suddenly, magical birds fly out of the dungeon, shining amid the darkness, as an omen that something great awaits inside. Upon entering the dungeon, the group is surprised by a swarm of silver birds, classified as threat level D. Ike immediately warns the others not to lower their guard. Claris reacts precisely, firing arrows at the flying enemies, while Mars and Ike position themselves for combat. The battle begins intensely, with sounds of wings and attacks echoing through the dungeon walls. After defeating the dungeon enemies, Mars, Ike, and Claris encounter a massive pile of magical stones. Surprised by the amount, they realize it would be impossible to carry everything back alone. Facing the logistical challenge, they decide to return and discuss the best means of transport with their father, Zeke Bryant. Zeke Bryant, confronted with the difficulty of transporting the enormous quantity of magical stones, proposes without hesitation the purchase of slaves as a solution. His suggestion shocks Mars, Ike, and Claris completely, unable to hide their surprised expressions at how casually their father approached the subject. The group arrives at an imposing building where they are welcomed by a smiling attendant. Zeke explains he is looking for someone with strength and agility to act as a carrier, and the attendant promptly suggests a beastman slave, praising their physical capabilities. Without hesitation, Zeke approves the suggestion, and everyone follows the employee through the corridors. The group is led down a huge hallway surrounded by cells distributed over multiple floors. As they walk, watchful eyes observe them from all sides. Prisoners, many of them beastmen, silently peering through the bars. Claris and Mars observe the environment apprehensively, while Zeke confidently leads the way toward selecting the slave who will assist in their next mission. The beastmen prisoners watch the visiting group with suspicion, aware of their strength and too proud to accept a weaker master. The guide explains this dynamic with a carefree smile, while Mars notices a larger cell than the others, imposing and isolated. Intrigued, he asks who is inside. The answer does not come yet, but the size of the door suggests something, or someone unusual behind it. Inside the special cell rests a calm and imposing man alongside a huge feline beast. His sculpted physique and serene expression contrast with the hostile environment. He is introduced as the former Duke Silesians, one of the 12 dukes of the Lister Confederation and representative of the Beastmen, a figure of great prestige and strength, whose presence there suggests deep past events yet to be revealed. The past of Duke Silesians is finally revealed. Although once one of the most powerful among the Beastmen, he was betrayed by his own allies in a coup and forced into exile. Despite this, his strength was still recognized, so much so that Marquis Carmel paid a fortune to acquire him. However, Silesians imposed a condition. He would only serve someone stronger than himself. Meanwhile, Claris activates her special ability, Heaven's Eye, revealing that she intends to assess the true strength of the former Duke before any decision is made. Claris activates her special ability, Heaven's Eye, unveiling Duke Silesians' true power. By analyzing his level, she seeks to confirm if he is truly worthy of serving someone, or if his strength no longer matches his past fame. Claris's focused gaze indicates she is about to make a crucial decision that may change the fate of the now enslaved ex-Duke. Without warning, Duke Silesians delivers a powerful punch to an opponent who had no time to react. The impact is devastating, leaving everyone in shock, including Mars and Claris, who watch the scene stunned. The ex-Duke's overwhelming strength leaves no doubt. He is still an elite warrior, and his declaration to serve only someone stronger was not mere pride. Seeing the destruction caused by Duke Silesians, Mars quickly steps in front of the others, trying to contain the situation. But before he can react, a sudden vision strikes him, like an instinctive premonition. In it, he sees himself being violently thrown against the wall after facing the ex-Duke. The vision is as vivid as it is alarming. The impact, the pain, and the crushing power of Silesians become clear. He realizes that if he advances without thinking, he will be easily defeated. Silesians, meanwhile, watches silently, as if awaiting the response of someone worthy of his loyalty. Silesians advances with frightening speed, and Mars realizes too late that he cannot dodge the imminent blow. In a moment of desperation, his instincts kick in. He knows he will be hit full force. His eyes widen, and a thought flashes through his mind like lightning. This is bad. I can't dodge. But before the impact, a firm voice echoes. Barrier. A magical barrier appears between them, invoked by Claris, narrowly preventing the devastating attack from hitting Mars. The blow collides violently with the shield, cracking it, but saving the boy from a certain fate. Silesians stops, surprised. Mars sees Claris thrown violently against the wall, and the scene strikes him like a blade. A heavy feeling overtakes him. The pain of seeing her injured blends with the awareness that if he loses now, she might really die. Fear gives way to silent fury. He stares at his opponent intensely. His body begins to tremble, not from fear, but from something awakening inside. The energy around changes. The ground cracks. Sparks scatter through the air. A hidden power begins to emerge. Mars advances. The punch he receives in the chest throws him brutally, shaking the entire hall. The impact is strong enough to capture everyone's attention. Zeke watches in shock. Claris covers her mouth, and even the most experienced react tensely. For a moment, it seems everything is over, but in the midst of the smoke, he is still standing. Mars's gaze changes. The energy that once swirled around him now flows within. The blow served as a trigger to awaken something deeper. The real fight was only beginning. He notices sparks around the enemy's arm and understands that it wasn't just brute strength. There was magic there too. His body still feels the impact, but instinct keeps him steady. Before him, the ex-Duke Silesians moves his fingers calmly, as if merely warming up. His eyes remain cold, alert. The silence between them grows heavy. The tension only rises. Mars realizes this will not be an ordinary battle. The man in front of him is a complete threat: strength, magic, and precision. And now, there is no room left for hesitation. Mars, though tired and injured, stands firm. The ex-Duke crosses his arms with a slight smile, as if he already understands everything. This was not just a physical fight, it was a calculated provocation, a mental game. Mars finally understands. He was dealing with someone who uses every strike as a message. And this fight, from the start, was already decided by whoever had more than strength, but also control. After the intense confrontation, Mars bows and apologizes. Suspicious that his magic eye had been noticed, he tries to keep his composure, introducing himself as Mars Bryant. He also asks for the opponent's name, who reveals himself as Burns Leo. Showing respect, Mars requests permission to evaluate him again, which is promptly granted. Mars analyzes Burns Leo's stats with his magic eye and is shocked. The ex-Duke's attributes are incredibly high, especially in strength, agility, and endurance. Recognizing this, he admits he is facing someone truly extraordinary. As Mars tries to advance negotiations, Burns Leo firmly declares he will never serve someone weaker than himself. He rejects Mars, reaffirming his pride and demand for strength. However, facing Mars's stance, he shows slight hesitation, opening room to reconsider his decision. Though initially rejected by Burns Leo, Mars surprises everyone by gaining admiration from the other beastmen. Impressed by his strength and posture, several express enthusiasm to have him as their master, completely changing the atmosphere. After impressing the beastmen, Mars requests permission to evaluate all present. With approval, he examines the candidates and chooses whom he wants to take. Proud, Zeke receives praise about his son's talent, and everyone leaves the place satisfied with the choice. After evaluations, 6 new members are introduced: the 3 brothers of the Black Wolf tribe, Guy, Mac, and Or, and 3 women named Misa, Ray, and another still unnamed. All introduce themselves respectfully, signaling the start of a new alliance under Mars's leadership. Zeke Bryant gathers the group and leads them toward a new beginning. With the newcomers accepted, he announces that he has rented an entire house to shelter them. The group remains united, excited about the new phase and teamwork. After settling into the new house, Zeke organizes the group's first gathering. With the table full of food, everyone gathers around and celebrates together with a lively feast. During dinner, Ray asks Zeke's permission for the others to join the table. Zeke agrees, but makes clear that the decision will be Ike's starting the next day. Noticing some lack of etiquette, Ray reprimands them to use proper language, and all accept the instruction respectfully. During a meeting, Zeke explains to the 5 new members, formerly enslaved, the contract terms. He states that within 3 years, all must move to Ilgusia. There, the 3 brothers of the Black Wolf tribe will be responsible for dungeon management, while Misa and Ray will be hired as servants. Additionally, Zeke emphasizes that they must not cause any harm to the group. After the meal, the group decides room assignments in the new house. The Black Wolf brothers stay on the lower floor, while Ike, Mars, Claris, Misa, and Ray occupy the upper floor. Zeke closes the moment saying he hopes to count on everyone starting the next day. The 3 Black Wolf brothers become rank E adventurers and celebrate enthusiastically. Then they ask Ike for instructions, who replies he will assess each one's skills before assigning their future tasks. Ike instructs the Jet brothers to defeat stone lizards as an initial test. The creatures have moderate attributes, but the brothers, with superior strength and endurance, show confidence preparing for the fight. The Jet brothers advance in sync against the stone lizards, showing confidence and determination. With firm expressions and combined energy, they start combat ready to prove their strength. With synchronized and brutal blows, the 3 Jet brothers fight the stone lizards with full force. Each uses their own combat style. Max strikes precisely, Or dominates with brute force, and Guy attacks savagely, making clear that underestimating them would be a mistake. Guy and Mac continue fighting with confidence and ferocity. Guy smashes one of the lizards with a powerful, arrogant attack, while Mac maintains composure and strikes with surgical precision. With enemies easily dominated, Guy laughs and declares creatures like these pose no threat at all. Mac finishes his attack with a powerful kick to the ground, demonstrating full control of the battle. Meanwhile, Or firmly grabs a lizard and slams it to the ground brutally, repeating the motion to secure victory. The Black Wolf brothers' physical strength stands out, making it clear the enemies don't stand a chance. Even exhausted and wounded, the Black Wolf brothers remain standing after defeating all enemies. Or feels back pain. Mac is visibly injured, but Guy stays confident and proud. Despite the conditions, they proclaim their victory with determination. After winning the battle, the 3 brothers await Ike's approval, but receive an unexpected answer. He is not satisfied with their performance. Surprised, they ask for explanations. Ike orders them to treat their wounds first, showing that for him, care and preparation come before approval. After being healed by Claris, the Jet brothers are surprised by her magical skill. One asks her age, imagining she must be an adult for mastering sacred magic. The answer shocks everyone. Claris reveals she's only 8 years old. Ike decides to demonstrate why the brothers weren't approved. Confidently, he advances alone to 2 monsters, and with a simple attack order, unleashes a powerful fire blast with his spear, annihilating the enemies instantly. His action serves as indisputable proof of the level difference between them. Ike eliminates 2 lizards with extreme precision and speed, demonstrating absolute combat mastery. After the attack, he stares at the brothers and calmly asks if they understand the gap between their skills and what they just witnessed, making it clear they are still far from his level. Ike reprimands the trio for mistakes made during combat, explaining that the key to exploring labyrinths is conserving energy. He points out they are wasting too much stamina because they don't think during fights. In conclusion, he advises them to fight together as a team of 3, emphasizing the importance of strategy for survival. Ike instructs the 3 brothers to face a grizzly bear as a practical test. During the fight, he orders one to stop the creature's attacks, while another prevents its movements. The battle serves as an exercise to apply teamwork and strategic use of each one's strength. During the fight against the grizzly bear, Ike orders the next move, stop the beast's breathing. MacJet, agile and precise, leaps and strikes directly on the enemy's chest while his brothers hold it to restrain its movements. The coordinated strategy demonstrates the group's progress in joint combat. After successfully defeating the grizzly bear as a team, the Black Wolf brothers show pride and satisfaction. When Ike praises them with a positive sign, the group feels recognized. With progress assured, Ike suggests they explore only the 2nd floor before returning, prudently ending the day's mission. Upon reaching the dungeon's 2nd floor, the group is shocked by a terrifying scene. A room infested with monstrous ants devouring the bear's corpse they had defeated moments earlier. Faced with the grotesque and unexpected sight, everyone is stunned, unable to comprehend what they witness. The group quickly realizes something is wrong. An abnormal number of monstrous ants has taken over the floor, devouring the bear's remains. Mars confirms there were no reports of these monsters on the 2nd floor, and their number is frightening. Faced with the unexpected threat, Ike decides the best is to retreat immediately and report the situation to the guild. After returning to the guild, Ike and the others deliver an urgent report to Ralph. During the meeting, they are introduced to Evan Seorm, Marquis of Carmel, an important authority figure. With the urgency clear, Ralph asks Ike to start his report immediately. During the report, Ike informs about the abnormal presence of ant monsters on the labyrinth's 2nd floor. Ralph raises the possibility they are assassin ants, dangerous creatures known for their uncontrolled reproductive capacity and destructive appetite. Evan Seorm is alarmed, as these creatures should be confined to the Forest of Death in the Kingdom of Ristar. Faced with the risk of overpopulation in the labyrinth, those present realize the situation may spiral out of control and begin discussing urgent measures. Amid the tense atmosphere, Ralph directly asks Ike what he would do facing the assassin ant threat. After a moment of silent reflection among all, Ike, with a firm expression, replies that if it depended on him, he would already have a clear decision in mind, indicating he is about to present a bold strategy to deal with the problem. Ike exposes his plan firmly. He would summon 3 rank C teams from Ilgusia, Brown Shield, Blue Fang, and Red Wing, and gather all the city's adventurers and slaves in the last room of the 1st floor. For him, the decisive factor would be persuading the Beastmen to cooperate in the operation. Ike states that Burns's cooperation is absolutely essential for the plan to succeed. Given this, the leaders conclude that the situation will require an all-out battle against the dungeon monsters. After hearing reports about Burns, Ralph decides to follow Ike's suggested strategy. The next morning, a meeting is convened with the city's adventurers, and Ralph immediately begins preparations, taking responsibility for contacting Viscount Bryant. The 3 C-rank teams, Brown Shield, Blue Fang, and Red Wing, are called for the Labyrinth operation. Meanwhile, one of the leaders questions the Beastmen's status, indicating their cooperation will also be crucial for the mission. All Beastmen agree to cooperate, except Burns, who refuses even to talk. Given this, the leaders ask Mars, known to Burns, to try persuading him to join the mission. Mars seeks out Burns personally, though he doesn't expect to have to speak to him again. Facing the imposing man, Mars hesitates as Burns directly asks what he wants. Mars asks Burns outright to accompany them to the Almeria Labyrinth. However, Burns shows total indifference to the city's fate, saying he would simply leave if everyone died. In response, Mars reveals that Marquis Carmel promised to grant any wish Burns had if he agreed to participate. Burns sets a condition to offer his strength. He will only help if they bring the sacred magic user, Flora. Mars is surprised to hear the name, reflecting on how impossible it would be to find an unknown person so quickly. Given Burns' insistence, he asks what the real intention behind this request is. Burns reveals his true motivation. He wants Flora to remove the curse afflicting Ellie, the beast accompanying him. Mars, surprised, recognizes he has heard of sacred magic users capable of breaking curses, but hesitates at the possibility that Flora may not be able to perform such a feat. Burns declares with determination that he will make Flora try until she succeeds in removing the curse. Given this, Mars decides to keep his sacred magic user status secret. In the end, he accepts Burns' condition and sets out to find Flora, despite internal doubts. Burns agrees to cooperate but sets a condition. Ellie must remain safe and always within his sight. Meanwhile, he commits to staying outside the labyrinth and protecting the city until Flora is found. Mars thanks him enthusiastically for the decision. Mars prepares to face a possible threat. He activates the spell Sylph Wind Cloak to enhance his physical abilities and advances cautiously. As he walks, he recalls the intense feeling from the previous fight against Sir Burns, using the memory to stay focused. In the background, mysterious figures watch him. Mars successfully activates his ability and feels intense energy coursing through his body. At the height of his excitement, he notices something strange. A horde of grotesque creatures rapidly approaches. Still surrounded by his magical aura, he prepares for combat, aware that the power he awakened will be immediately tested. Mars unleashes a devastating explosion of energy, instantly eliminating enemies around him. Surprised, he realizes the attack happened automatically, a pure reflex of his activated ability. Facing the chest before him, he realizes how much he has evolved and the control he is beginning to gain over his new powers. While Mars analyzes the effects of the previous attack and reflects on the high mana drain, a shadowy figure suddenly appears behind him. Flora, who had been watching him from a distance, alerts him with a scream. Mars turns startled, but it's already too late. Something unknown and shrouded in darkness rapidly advances on him. Flora runs to Mars, worried about what she just witnessed. He tries to explain he was training alone, and mentions that it was the same magic that had injured Sir Burns earlier. Intrigued and shaken, Flora recognizes the energy she felt and says she knows that sensation, as if something inside her was reacting instinctively. Mars, surprised, begins to suspect a deeper connection between them or with the power he carries. Flora recognizes the attack sensation as the same she felt in the past, at a significant moment between the two. Mars confirms, and they recall the previous meeting at the convenience store. Relieved they were not hurt, they talk about Flora's resistance to magic. She asks if she can now accompany him to the labyrinth, and Mars, smiling, admits he would be worried if she went alone. The bond between them grows, further solidifying their connection. Mars finds a disguise bracelet that allows him to hide his true abilities as a sacred magic user. He and Flora wear the accessories together, sealing the moment with a symbolic gesture of unity. With sincere smiles, they celebrate being even closer now and ready to face the labyrinth side by side. On the day of the ant extermination operation, all groups and allies gather before the labyrinth. Mars, Flora, the three brothers, and the adventurers from the summon teams line up alongside the Marquis and other fighters. As the formation is organized, Burns watches from a distance beside Ellie, ready to act if necessary. The decisive battle approaches. Mars and Ralph advance together on the front line, launching powerful fire spells to contain the assassin ant swarm. The labyrinth interior begins to fill with flames while the creatures writhe in desperation. The firestorm and fireball spells create a wall of destruction, burning the first enemy hordes and opening the path for other fighters. The battle to clear the second floor begins at full force. As the group advances through the labyrinth, a new wave of danger emerges. A swarm of assassin ants furiously climbs the stairs from the third floor. With a threatening appearance and overwhelming numbers, they march with speed and force. Data reveals that despite little magic and skill, they possess high agility and endurance, making them dangerous enemies in direct combat. The threat is far from over. As the assassin ants invade the hall, the young mage positions himself before everyone, determined to protect his comrades. With concentration and power, he conjures a powerful wind spell, Tornado. The magic forms violently, sweeping enemies away with devastating force and creating a barrier between the adventurers and the approaching swarm. The battle for survival continues. While the magical tornado continues to clear the assassin ants, the melee fighters advance precisely. Swords cut without hesitation, creating space with coordinated strikes. The battlefront advances determinedly, even facing the swarm's resistance. From atop the walls, other warriors observe and prepare. The extermination operation proceeds firmly, with all fighting in perfect sync. In the midst of the operation, a new threat appears. A queen ant crashes through the wall with force, surprising the fighters. Mars quickly alerts the group to the danger. With stats superior to common ants, the creature poses a great challenge. The warriors regroup, ready to face it with caution and strategy. Mars realizes his tornado magic is insufficient to defeat the queen ant. Despite his determination, the enemy proves resilient. Wasting no time, he changes strategy and runs toward Flora, showing confidence as he prepares for the next move. Ike steps in and eliminates the queen ant with a direct and powerful attack, earning Mars's approval. With the leader defeated, the remaining ants begin to retreat. All adventurers gather after the battle, relieved with victory and surrounded by the bodies of the fallen insects. Combining their powers, the mages erect a wall of earth and ice to contain the enemies and protect the group. With the barrier raised, they take the moment for a strategic pause and to catch their breath before continuing the mission. The group rests after the battle, aware that dangers remain ahead. Mars and Flora share a moment of camaraderie, showing mutual trust and hope for what is to come. Mars and Flora rest together, exhausted from the battle. As they rise, Mars notices something and asks worriedly what is happening, showing that something has caught his attention. Mars finds Ralph and a woman who greets him joyfully, saying that Mars's mother is now relieved. Ralph, proud, comments on being surpassed by his son. Mars smiles, savoring the moment. The group faces a critical situation. The earthen barrier protecting them is expected to break within about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, Clarice remains unconscious, and the others jokingly comment on the scene between her and her possible savior. One of the characters suggests that, like in a fairy tale, only a prince's kiss can wake her up. Clarice begins to regain consciousness, still sweating and visibly shaken. Upon hearing comforting words, her eyes slowly open, showing surprise and confusion as she processes the situation around her. Clarice wakes up, still embarrassed, recalling the sequence of events upon awakening. She realizes she was being watched, and upon seeing Maria feels even more embarrassed for not reacting in time. Despite the awkwardness, the young man beside her is amused by her shy expression, lightening the mood. The group watches anxiously as reinforcements return, temporarily easing the tension. However, the threat approaches rapidly. Gigantic and grotesque creatures emerge from the darkness, advancing en masse. The battle is about to resume, and everyone prepares to face the imminent danger. The guards and mages observe carefully as giant ants, known as guard ants, begin to corrode the wall with acid. These creatures possess high attributes of strength, agility, and endurance. To avoid a disaster caused by acid splashes, the team decides against using wind attacks like tornado. The strategy now demands caution and precision. The giant ants advance ferociously, but the defenders hold the front line in wait. Led by a strategist, the group launches a coordinated ranged attack to contain the enemies and avoid direct contact with the acid. Spells and projectiles are cast in succession, marking the start of the confrontation. A powerful explosion destroys part of the defensive wall, opening a path for a horde of giant ants. Amid the common creatures, an imposing figure appears, a distinctly threatening ant, indicating that an even more dangerous enemy has just entered the scene. The battle rises to a new level of tension. The situation worsens with the arrival of the queen ant. Much larger and more powerful than the others, the creature commands respect with its elevated strength and resistance attributes. One of the characters immediately recognizes the danger, warning that the presence of the queen ant represents a serious and potentially devastating threat to everyone. Faced with the threat of the queen ant, the group quickly retreats to avoid losses. However, one member decides to stay behind, determined to test his own strategy. While the others fall back, he confronts the danger with courage and confidence in his plan. Clarice also decides to remain, joining the ally who chose to stay. Both are warned not to take excessive risks, but stand firm, facing the horde of ants led by the queen ant. With the evacuation complete, the young man assures that no one else will be involved in the battle, taking full responsibility for the upcoming confrontation. A wind magic attack is unleashed with force, but proves ineffective against the queen ant, who resists easily. In response, the creature counterattacks with a powerful acid spray, forcing the two combatants to retreat quickly. The battle proves more difficult than expected. With the ants advancing in mass, the young caster decides to risk everything on a lightning attack. He concentrates his magical energy into a glowing sphere, enveloping it with electricity as he channels the power to his hand. Determined, he releases the spell with full force, aiming directly at the enemy swarm. The lightning attack is delivered with overwhelming intensity, exploding amid the army of ants. A blinding light and electric sparks fill the battlefield, accompanied by a devastating roar. The offensive reaches its peak, wielding enough power to turn the tide of the confrontation. The lightning attack succeeds. One of the ants is completely paralyzed, unable to move on its own. Clarice watches, impressed by the spell's effectiveness, while the young mage admits the mana cost was extremely high, making the strike unfeasible for continuous use. Even so, the result represents an important tactical victory. After paralyzing the queen ant, Clarice questions whether the victory has been achieved. However, the continuous sound of the other ants reveals the danger is not over. Recognizing the fight isn't finished, the group decides to retreat temporarily, remaining cautious about the possibility of further attacks. After returning from battle, the heroes report the queen ant's defeat and are warmly greeted with praise and relief. Recognizing the toll of the fight, the group decides to rest at a nearby inn to recover and prepare for what lies ahead. While resting after the mission, Mars is abruptly awakened by alarming news. The ants have broken through the maze entrance and begun to emerge. To make matters worse, the true queen ant has finally appeared, revealing that the previous battle was not against the real leader. The danger returns even greater. Upon noticing the new threat emerging from the maze, Mars is surprised to see Sir Burns already in combat. With impressive strength and speed, Burns faces the ants with devastating attacks, landing a precise hit on one of the creatures. His unexpected arrival brings new hope against the renewed threat. Sir Burns continues advancing with brutal force, eliminating a giant ant with a direct, precise blow. His efficiency impresses everyone, inspiring confidence. With the path partially cleared, an ally takes the opportunity to move forward, while the others acknowledge how reliable Burns is on the battlefield. During the advance, Mars leaps into combat with his sword, clearing the way with an impressive and precise technique. His devastating cuts take down ants around him, covering the progress of the ally who went ahead. Observing this, Sir Burns is surprised and impressed by Mars's sword skills. Surprised by Mars's skill, Burns asks how a mage can fight so well with a sword. Mars humbly replies that he just knows a little, which causes Burns to laugh and acknowledge Mars's talent as superior to anyone else's. Shortly after, Clarice arrives running, apologizing for being late, while the battlefield still shows the traces of intense fighting. The true Queen Ant finally appears, imposing and surrounded by her subordinates. Facing the new threat, Sir Burns takes the lead and assumes responsibility for direct combat with the Queen. He instructs Mars to handle the smaller ants, while he prepares to face the most powerful enemy on the battlefield. Burns advances determinedly against the Queen Ant, opening the way with devastating blows. Mars, meanwhile, confronts the smaller ants with precision and agility, dominating the surrounding field. The strategy defined between the two begins to take effect efficiently, initiating a coordinated offensive against the swarm. Several fighters join forces on the battlefield, fighting side by side against the ant swarm with swords, kicks, and coordinated techniques. The scene reveals a united and determined effort. Meanwhile, Sir Burns continues facing the Queen Ant with intensity, sweaty and wounded, but firm in his stance. The battle reaches its climax with everyone giving their all. Exhausted and covered in wounds, Sir Burns watches the battle's end with relief. Despite trying to maintain a serious demeanor, he calls the other warriors to assist the rest of the group. Mars understands the intent behind the words and, with a determined smile, orders immediate support to the allies. Unity and team spirit prevail on the field. Mars notices Sir Burns is pushing himself beyond his limits and fears he might collapse, which would put everyone at risk. Moved by determination and remembering that he does everything for Ellie, Mars takes the initiative and asks for a moment with Burns. With his father's approval, he prepares to act, showing courage and a sense of responsibility in the critical situation. Surprising everyone, Mars reveals he can use sacred magic and heals Sir Burns' wounds with a healing spell. Burns, impressed and moved, acknowledges the value and rarity of that ability. Mars requests discretion, revealing this secret with a smile. The scene closes with an emotional memory of Ellie, symbolically linking Mars to something greater and deeper. Despite the group's efforts, the battle seems endless. Enemies continue to appear in great numbers, and the fighters are physically and emotionally exhausted. Cries of pain and fatigue spread, and uncertainty hangs in the air. The feeling of despair grows as everyone wonders how much longer they can hold on, or if there will even be an end to this fight. The true nightmare reveals itself. Arlen, a named Queen Ant, a singular and incredibly powerful monster, appears. With attributes far above normal and special abilities like earth magic and regeneration, her presence shocks all present. The group's exhaustion now mixes with fear as they face a threat on a completely different level. Facing the colossal threat posed by Arlen, Sir Burns orders Mars to help the other adventurers, taking sole responsibility to confront the danger alone. Despite concern for his condition, Mars obeys with determination. As he advances, a hidden power begins to manifest. Burns, in turn, reveals his motivation. Everything he does is for Ellie. And then, his power awakens intensely, echoing the name, Beast King. Sir Burns unleashes his true form as Beast King, transforming into an imposing figure with wild hair and fierce energy emanating from his body. With a determined gaze and body overflowing with power, he prepares to face Arlen with everything he has, fully embracing his role as the last bastion of defense. In his Beast King form, Sir Burns launches an attack with overwhelming force. He charges at the giant ants, and with a fierce motion takes out several at once. His blows are so fast and powerful that the creatures have no chance to react. The balance of the battle begins to tilt again in favor of the heroes. With a powerful roar, Sir Burns advances fiercely toward the true Queen Ant, Arlen. His attack is devastating, destroying minions in his path and leaving a trail of destruction. Arlen's presence poses an immense threat, but Burns, in his Beast King form, shows he is ready to face her head-on, even against the most formidable enemy. Sir Burns faces Arlen directly with a fierce and determined look. In his Beast King form, he attacks with full force, while the imposing Queen Ant remains still, watching him coldly. The tension between them reaches its peak. A direct confrontation between colossal forces is about to erupt. Sir Burns attacks with total fury, breaking a stone block and charging directly at Arlen. His strike is violent and precise, hitting the Queen Ant squarely in the face. The impact's force demonstrates Burns' raw power in his Beast King form, making clear that he will spare no effort to bring down the main threat. Sir Burns continues his relentless offensive. He lands a powerful punch on Arlen's face, causing visible damage and leaving the monstrous queen stunned. Then, with a devastating kick, he strikes another giant ant and destroys multiple stone pillars with his tremendous strength. His power in Beast King form dominates the battlefield, opening space for a possible turning point. Despite Burns' devastating attacks, Queen Arlen surprises everyone by regenerating her wounds almost instantly. He realizes that, besides being resilient, the monster possesses an incredible healing ability. Even with the Beast King's strength, the battle is far from over, and Arlen begins to unleash a new power, shaking the battlefield with her presence. Queen Arlen activates her earth magic ability, causing a gigantic amount of sand to rise from the ground. The sudden movement of the terrain catches everyone off guard. Both Burns and the adventurers retreat, trying to understand what is happening. The battlefield trembles as the sand begins to engulf everything, creating a new danger amid the confrontation. The adventurers quickly react to the advancing sand conjured by Queen Arlen. Stone barriers, ice walls, and a powerful tornado are summoned in a desperate attempt to contain or redirect the sandstorm. Meanwhile, Burns prepares for another direct confrontation, facing the Queen head-on. In the background, civilians and less experienced fighters flee in panic, realizing the battlefield has turned into total chaos. With the field now covered in sand, movement becomes difficult for everyone. Burns acknowledges the terrain disadvantage, but decides to activate his Beast King transformation, which increases his strength and agility at the cost of resistance. Despite his allies' concerns about the risky form, he ignores their warnings and demands immediate healing, determined to face the enemy with all he has. Burns watches in frustration as the Queen Ant continuously regenerates. Even after multiple attacks, there is no sign that the enemy is close to defeat. Mars explains that the creature has accelerated HP regeneration, turning the fight into a race against time. Burns, healed by magic, realizes that his companions are exhausted and cannot keep fighting. The responsibility to finish the battle falls entirely on him. Determined to end the fight, Burns and Mars join forces to attack the Queen Ant. Both charge at full speed, aware that only a coordinated effort can overcome the enemy's rapid regeneration. The creature senses their approach and prepares its claws for the final confrontation. With determined looks, Burns and Mars attack the Queen Ant in sync. While Mars delivers quick and precise cuts, Burns strikes with brutal force, hitting with his tail and fists. The creature tries to defend itself, but is struck from all sides. The coordinated offensive of the two warriors begins to overwhelm even the enemy's accelerated regeneration. Mars and Burns continue launching fierce attacks on the Queen Ant. While Mars hits her with precision, Burns attacks with fury. However, the creature reacts violently. One of its limbs strikes Mars squarely, sending him flying. The impact surprises everyone, showing that the enemy is not yet subdued. Mars is saved at the last moment by a magical barrier. An ally throws him his weapon, which he catches mid-air with precision. With an agile and determined movement, Mars counterattacks with a powerful flaming strike against the creature. The duo continues attacking the creature with full force. Mars lands a powerful punch, while his ally covers him with his sword. Despite the coordinated offensive, the creature resists. With time running out, it is revealed that Mars's transformation will only last 5 more minutes. Faced with the persistent threat and time limitation, Mars proposes using a powerful paralyzing magic as a last resort. Despite the high energy cost and difficulty controlling it, his ally accepts the risk, aware that without it, they will all die. The decision is made. They will end the fight then and there. The final plan goes into action. The mage prepares the paralyzing spell and warns Mars to stay clear after the cast. While he channels the magic, Mars charges furiously at the enemy to buy time, aware of the risk. The battle reaches its climax. Mars launches himself furiously onto the creature, exchanging brutal blows even as he is pierced. Despite his injuries, he continues attacking without hesitation, holding the enemy in place so the final plan can be executed. His determination surpasses the pain, focused solely on victory. The mage channels his energy and casts a powerful lightning spell directly on the creature, electrocuting it intensely. Exhausted, he collapses, making it clear he cannot continue. With his strength depleted, he entrusts the conclusion of the battle to his companion. The creature, completely paralyzed by the electric spell, cannot react. Taking advantage of the opening, the warrior advances with determination, preparing a devastating blow to finish the fight. Seizing the enemy's paralyzed state, the warrior delivers a brutal punch directly to the creature's face. Then, with overwhelming speed and force, he leaps and continues the assault without giving the enemy a chance to respond, crushing it with a relentless sequence. With a scream of fury and pain, Mars gathers his last strength and delivers a brutal blow against the enemy, crushing its head with extreme violence. The impact explodes in shards and blood, marking the end of an intense and sacrificial confrontation. As the enemy's body dissolves into smoke before Mars's bloodied hands, the battlefield calms. The victorious figure, exhausted and kneeling, watches the threat's end. From afar, cheers of celebration echo. The victory is celebrated by all. A feeling of relief and achievement fills the group. They have won. With the threat finally defeated, cries of victory resonate among the survivors. Mars, wounded and exhausted, finds comfort in embracing Ellie, the lioness who represents his purest and deepest connection. The joy of victory mingles with the emotion of survival. Meanwhile, the companion approaches, calling for Mars, who responds calmly, embraced by the symbol of what he vowed to protect. After the battle, Mars receives a box delivered by his companion, carrying something of great value. In silence, he accepts the gift while remaining beside Ellie, his faithful companion. In a tender moment, Mars gently strokes the lioness, showing gratitude and affection. The scene marks the end of a chapter of struggle, now replaced by a calm filled with silent emotions. Faced with the silence and imminent farewell, Mars asks that they take care of Ellie. The emotion weighs on the boy's face as he holds the box. His teary eyes reveal the weight of responsibility. With a respectful gesture, he bows before Mars and the lioness, promising firmly, even through tears, that he will take care of her. The moment marks a passage of trust and affection, sealing the end of a journey and the beginning of a new commitment. As Mars rests gravely wounded in Ellie's arms, he utters his last words in a whisper, "Thank you." The lioness envelops him in a touching embrace, shedding silent tears. It is a moment of profound farewell, marked by pain, gratitude, and love. The warrior who sacrificed everything says goodbye with serenity, leaving behind his legacy and those who will now carry on for him. Amid the silent mountains, a solitary cross marks Mars's grave. Ellie, inconsolable, cries at the foot of the tombstone, expressing her pain in heartfelt howls. Behind her, companions who witnessed his bravery pay their last respects. Mars's sacrifice brought victory, but also left a deep void. The hero fell, but will be remembered forever. After the farewell, the young man decides to console Ellie and take her to a new beginning. With a calm and determined look, he says there is something he wants to show her. In front of a simple and cozy house, he presents the chest left by Sir Burns, a gift from Mars. The time has come to open it and discover what the hero left for them, a symbol of hope and continuity. Upon opening the chest left by Mars, they find a mid-level sacred grimoire. The discovery rekindles hope. This powerful item may be the key to finally freeing Ellie from the curse. Before the magical book, everyone's eyes shine with emotion. The young man reflects that perhaps Sir Burns' sincere feelings were strong enough to provoke a miracle. More than half a year after Sir Burns' death, many changes have occurred in Almeria. Zeke was promoted to Count, inheriting the title from his father, Marquis Carmel. During the ceremony, he promises to dedicate himself entirely to the kingdom's prosperity. The people show confidence in his leadership, and his rise attracts even more prestige. The main adventurers of Ilkusia move to Almeria, marking a new chapter of growth and hope for the nation. With the victory, Almeria's dungeon returns to its original condition, free from the ants that infested it. During the mission, the group obtained an artificial magic stone, a rare item created by special methods. The item's evaluation revealed its delicate and secretive nature. Given this, it was decided to keep the find in absolute secrecy, with clear instructions that no one should know about its existence. After the remarkable events, the protagonist reveals that his father bought all the beastkin, freeing them from slavery. As for Sir Burns' daughter, Ellie, he takes full responsibility for her well-being. The scene shows Ellie, now free and happy, hugging him affectionately, evidencing the bond of trust and affection born between them. Ellie, the now free lioness, has become extremely attached to the protagonist. She sleeps beside him, shares moments of rest and affection, and even reacts with jealousy when he approaches other people. The connection between them has grown deeply, reflecting a bond of trust, protection, and affection built after so many hardships. The young priestess acquires the title of Saint, a recognition granted to the world's greatest sacred mage. This title not only elevates her status but also expands her abilities. Now her healing magic can remove any status anomalies. The scene reveals her newfound enlightenment and power, symbolized by the angelic figure that blesses her, marking a new chapter in her journey. Clarice, now recognized as a true saint, prepares to undertake her first major mission with this new power, to remove Ellie's curse. With confidence and determination, she channels her sacred magic as everyone watches with hope. The lioness Ellie, attentive, senses that something great is about to happen. The boy gathers Clarice and the other young woman for a serious conversation. With a determined expression, he says he needs to be clear about something important. Both look at him attentively as he takes a moment to reflect, showing he is about to make a significant decision. The boy finally reveals his feelings firmly. Before the two girls, he declares that Clarice is the one who matters most to him, expressing his love for her and his desire to marry her in the future. Clarice, visibly surprised, listens silently, impacted by the sincerity of the confession. Clarice becomes deeply moved by the declaration, covering her face as tears and blush spread across her expression, a clear sign of happiness and surprise. Meanwhile, the other girl, with a steady gaze, reveals she already knew about the boy's feelings, as Ike had told her beforehand. The scene closes with an atmosphere of acceptance and respectful closure. The short-haired girl surprises everyone by loudly and excitedly declaring that she will be the protagonist's concubine, even without fully understanding what that means. Confusion takes over the room. Clarice and the protagonist exchange perplexed looks, and the boy innocently asks what a concubine is, leaving everyone stunned by his naivety. The girl celebrates enthusiastically after her bold declaration, jumping with joy upon hearing that the protagonist will think about it. Despite the vague answer, she interprets it as a positive sign. The boy, with a nervous smile, tries to lighten the mood. In the end, the girl appears satisfied with the outcome, believing everything went well enough. A young man says farewell confidently, promising to pass the exam and make everyone proud. Friends and family warmly support him, saying they will also go there in 3 years. Before leaving, he receives a sword as a gift from Mars, moved and grateful for the gesture. The boy leaves excited to take the admission exam at the Rister National Academy. Mars explains that he and Clarice also plan to go there in 3 years. Ellie, who did not know how to read or write, begins to be taught by Clarice, who enthusiastically takes on the role of teacher. 3 years have passed. In front of the house, the two now-grown youths face each other with determination, ready for a training duel. In the background, two children watch them, while the exchange of glances between the fighters reveals mutual respect and trust. During the duel, the girl advances with impressive speed thanks to the wind boots, which allow aerial bursts. She leaps with agility, surprising her opponent. In response, the boy positions himself firmly, preparing for the next move, as both show total focus and skill in the confrontation. The battle intensifies when the boy decides to abandon the sword and switch to hand-to-hand combat. Both adopt fighting stances, showing confidence and readiness. The exchange of blows is fierce, with agile kicks and punches exchanged in a fierce rhythm, revealing the high skill level of both fighters. The confrontation remains fierce. Both combatants show absolute focus, blocking and counter-attacking with precision. In a decisive moment, the boy manages to approach quickly, grabbing his opponent and preventing her kick, showing control of the situation mid-battle. The fight intensifies with an unexpected turn. The girl takes advantage of a distraction, immobilizes the opponent from behind and knocks him down with a precise blow, pinning him to the ground and dominating the fight with surprising skill. With the training ended, Clarice reminds everyone that the next day will start early. Mars acknowledges Ellie's superior hand-to-hand combat skills, while she smiles satisfied with the compliment. The status sheets of the three reveal their progress and specialties, highlighting the group's balance between strength, magic, and agility. The three prepare to depart for the Rister National Academy exam. They receive words of encouragement and a warning about attracting attention due to their potential. Determined, they respond confidently and begin their journey with firm steps. The group arrives at the imposing entrance of the Rister National Academy and faces a crowd of candidates. Surprised and apprehensive about the unexpected number of people, they realize the challenge ahead. Candidates are instructed to line up holding the entrance fee coin in their right hand. Determined, the protagonist recalls his failure in a past life, but this time feels confident he will pass on the first attempt. Mars receives the shocking news that he has failed the exam. In a complete state of shock, he can hardly believe it, watching his effort and determination crumble before that unexpected result. Mars, accompanied by Ellie and Clarice, approaches the academy gate, determined to face the exam. After handing over the gold coin and receiving the instructions, he confidently enters to take his test, unaware of the outcome awaiting him. During the magical evaluation, the examiners are surprised by the talent of Ellie and Clarice. Their stats impress everyone, being described as incredible and beyond expectations. While they attract attention with their exceptional abilities, Mars watches from the background, overshadowed by their brilliance. It's Mars's turn to undergo evaluation. While Ellie and Clarice are led inside after passing, he walks confidently, but notices something strange. The examiners show no surprise as they did with the others. Their neutral expressions contrast with the earlier excitement, leaving Mars suspicious and puzzled by the result. Upon receiving his result, Mars is shocked to see the word "failed" stamped on the paper. Confusion overwhelms him as he watches the others defeated on the ground. He tries to understand the reason for his failure. Did he make some mistake? Had he hidden his abilities too much with the bracelet? The marks on his report with X beside numerical columns only deepen his doubt. Perplexed, he wonders if he was evaluated differently from the other candidates. Mars panics as he tries to decipher his evaluation results. He begins reflecting on the meaning of the symbols. Could the O represent a 0 instead of a correct mark? And the X? Does it mean out of scale? He considers the possibility that he was disqualified for exceeding normal attribute limits. However, he notices that Ellie also has 3-digit numbers in her stats and was not failed. The confusion only grows as he wonders what kind of absurd evaluation this was, until someone approaches, calling his name. Mars reunites with Sasha and Silas, figures from his past. Silas, visibly frustrated, angrily questions how someone he personally accepted for the exam could fail. Accusing Mars of neglecting training over the past 3 years, he shouts in indignation. Mars, offended, immediately responds firmly that he was neither slacking nor putting in little effort, showing his determination to defend himself and prove his worth. Silas becomes furious upon seeing Mars fail and threatens to settle things by force, believing it impossible for someone of his level to fail. Sasha stops him and asks for Mars's evaluation sheet. Upon analyzing it, she is shocked by the result. The numbers indicate all of Mars's attributes are below 10, something unbelievable for someone with his capabilities. The revelation surprises both her and Silas. Silas, agitated, questions whether Mars might have been corrupted by darkness to justify such low results. Mars vehemently denies it, confused and insecure about what might have caused this. Sasha also suspects an error, but Mars insists he did nothing wrong. The tension begins to ease when Ellie and Clarice appear, calling Mars enthusiastically, signaling that something is about to change. Mars reunites with Clarice and Sasha after the exam. Clarice expresses surprise at Mars's growth, while Sasha reveals she now works as staff at the same school. She explains that Silas, who reacted so intensely to Mars's failure, was already a team member before they arrived. The atmosphere begins to calm, and everyone shares a moment of reunion and mutual recognition. Sasha is questioned by a teacher about her knowledge of the new students. She confirms she knows Clarice, but is meeting the others for the first time. The teacher then comments that Ellie was officially assigned to Class S, while Clarice has potential to be placed in either Class S or Class A, highlighting the remarkable abilities of the two girls right after the exam. During the conversation, the teachers discover that Ellie descends from a noble family. She is the next head of the ducal Celians family. Although she appears human, her evaluation revealed that she is a beast man. Mars explains that Ellie and Clarice helped him previously, and one of the teachers recognizes Sasha as Misha's mother, a girl with whom Clarice and Mars corresponded earlier. Ellie's identity and prestige begin to surprise those present. Teachers and examiners are stunned when Ellie reveals her engagement to Mars, followed by Clarice, who also confirms she is promised to the same young man. The double declaration causes surprise and confusion among those present, marking an unexpected and emotional moment that changes everyone's perception of the group's bonds. Mars questions his exam results, but before receiving an answer, Ellie declares she will not attend the school if he fails. Clarice also says she will withdraw, claiming she has no reason to continue without him. The examiner, though touched by both their feelings, asks them to enroll regardless of the result, trying to preserve the merit of the exam. Mars discovers he failed the aptitude test, but does not become discouraged. He is informed he can still take the practical exam, although it is extremely difficult, and that even if he passes, he would be placed in the lowest class. Determined, Mars accepts enthusiastically, showing his willingness to move forward and prove his worth. Clarice and Ellie are instructed to enter the school, while Mars receives guidance to appear at the main gate the next day at noon. Sasha and Silas show themselves responsible for the organization. Afterwards, Clarice and Ellie talk. Ellie states that if Clarice does not trust Mars, she can return to the inn with him, showing her personal confidence in him. Clarice and Ellie demonstrate full trust in Mars, believing he will pass. Inspired by the support of the two, Mars reaffirms his determination with a confident smile, promising he will overcome the challenge. The candidates gather in a grand arena for the next phase of the selection process. Before everyone, the official announces the start of the explanation about the practical exam. Mars, firm among the other participants, prepares to face the new challenge. The candidates receive instructions to choose a weapon among those available and prepare for a combat simulation against the team members. After selecting his weapon, Mars positions himself with determination, ready to face one of the evaluators, except the most feared among them. As candidates form lines to face the evaluators, Mars attracts Silas's attention, who directly challenges him. Determined to test him personally, Silas wants to prove that Mars really did not become complacent. Under pressure and surrounding comments, Mars nervously but without hesitation accepts the confrontation. The practical exam begins and candidates are quickly defeated by the evaluators. Sasha, with agile and precise movements, easily takes down several participants. Other instructors, including a masked man and a young woman with a ponytail, also show overwhelming strength, leaving the field full of fallen candidates. It's Mars's turn to face his challenge. Before the imposing instructor, Silas, he tries to ease the tension by asking for leniency. However, Silas reveals he has been eagerly awaiting this moment. The duel begins with the evaluator's order. The confrontation between Mars and Silas starts intensely. Both advance with full force, exchanging heavy blows. The arena resonates with the impact of swords, making it clear that neither is holding back. Mars is forced to retreat before Silas's overwhelming strength. Even with full effort, he barely defends the attacks, realizing how dangerous his opponent is. The exchange of blows reveals the combat's intensity and the brutal power of his adversary. Silas delivers a devastating blow that throws Mars through the air. Unable to resist, the young man falls unconscious to the ground, making clear the vast gap in strength between the two. Mars is brutally slammed against the wall, leaving all present in shock at the opponent's overwhelming force. The impact is so violent that silence takes over the arena. Despite being injured and at a disadvantage, Mars surprises everyone by rising again. His opponent recognizes the young man's willpower and resilience, showing enthusiasm in the face of the unexpected. The fight continues with growing intensity. Mars is grabbed and thrown brutally, but his gaze remains determined. While the instructor shows confidence in victory, Mars resists with all his strength, aware that he cannot afford to fail at this crucial moment. When the fight reaches its peak, a woman intervenes with overwhelming speed, interrupting the battle with a single strike that sends both combatants to the ground. Shock is visible on their faces as she stares firmly, making it clear the situation has gotten out of control. After the fight's interruption, Instructor Loren questions Sasha, but she responds firmly, suggesting he was only avoiding humiliation. Amid the tension, she convinces everyone to end the duel. Mars's opponent, surprised, begins to suspect the young man's true identity. Then, Mars is recognized and praised for his performance. Mars receives confirmation of his approval in the practical exam. Relieved and emotional, he thanks enthusiastically, celebrating his achievement with a determined smile. Mars meets Clarice and Ellie shortly after the exam. Both show concern, but he reassures them with a confident smile, affirming he passed without difficulties. Clarice and Ellie enthusiastically congratulate Mars on his approval. The three celebrate with an animated high five and decide to go out together to celebrate, especially with meat, a shared desire amid smiles and joy. As Mars, Clarice, and Ellie walk through the city, they notice they have been watched since leaving the school. Mars quickly adopts a protective stance and asks them to stay close. However, in an alleyway, a surprise attack occurs, catching everyone off guard. After the sudden alley attack, Mars, Clarice, and Ellie are mysteriously transported to another location. From the top of a rooftop, a girl watches them. Upon noticing her, Mars immediately recognizes her. It is Misha, someone from the past. She greets them casually, revealing it has been a while since they last met. During the meal, Misha apologizes for not approaching sooner, despite having seen the group at school. She reveals her curiosity was focused on Ellie, the girl beside Mars. When encouraged to introduce herself, Ellie calmly says her full name, Ellie Leo. The situation helps lighten the mood and initiates a friendlier moment among them. During the conversation, Ellie surprises everyone by stating she is engaged to Mars, causing Misha to spit out her drink in shock. Shortly after, Clarice reveals she has also become engaged to him, leaving Misha even more stunned. To ease the tension, Mars tries to change the subject by asking which classes everyone is in. During the talk, Mars reveals he is in Class E, surprising Misha. Clarice then informs that she and Ellie are in Class S. Misha questions how Mars, supposedly the best, can be in a lower class. Despite the strangeness of the situation, everyone ends up laughing together, closing the moment lightly. Mars arrives at the student dormitory designated as E200 and notices the room is cramped and shared by 3 people, unlike other classes that share rooms between 2 students. He sighs resignedly upon noticing the difference in treatment given to Class E. At school, everything is defined based on the student's class, from room size to meals and classes. Mars, currently in the lowest Class E, acknowledges his inferior position, but remains determined. With confidence, he decides to strive to rise in class as quickly as possible. Mars meets his roommates, John, an outgoing Class E student, and Carl, more reserved. After introductions, Mars shows enthusiasm to work with them. John irreverently comments on Carl's robust appearance, thinking he was a veteran repeater. Before the entrance ceremony, John suggests exploring the school together and Carl agrees excitedly. However, Mars declines with a gentle smile, saying he already has another appointment. Shortly after, he appears at another location, apologizing for being late. Mars finds Clarice, Ellie, and Misha waiting for him. Clarice, excited about the new uniform, asks how he is. Mars, visibly enchanted, replies that the uniform suits her perfectly and that she looks very cute. Clarice, Ellie, and Misha demand compliments from Mars, who quickly reciprocates with affection. He says the uniform fits Ellie, reflecting her personality, and praises Misha for looking more mature. The 3 girls visibly delight in the sincere compliments. During the entrance ceremony, an elf introduces herself as the main speaker, welcoming the new students and highlighting their importance to the Academy's future. While everyone listens attentively, Mars is impressed to discover she is over 200 years old, something typical of elves. During her speech, the elf encourages students never to give up and to value every experience at the Academy as a treasure of life. Mars, attentive, feels he is being watched by someone. Meanwhile, the ceremony moves to the next moment, the speech by the new student representative. The new student representative climbs the stage and begins her speech confidently. She declares herself honored to start a new chapter at such a grand school. As she speaks, Mars watches closely and realizes she is the highest-ranked freshman among all. While Karen Lionel continues her inspiring speech, Mars uses his appraisal ability to analyze her stats. He discovers Karen has high attributes, especially in magical power, along with a unique skill called Alluring Eyes. Impressed, he concludes she is a specialized magic user, though curious about the real effect of her special skill. During Karen's speech, Mars uses his appraisal ability to analyze her skills, but she seems to notice the attempt. Staring directly at him with an intense expression, Mars convinces himself he has been completely discovered. Despite the momentary tension, the entrance ceremony ends without incident, with Karen finishing with a promise of a full and productive school life. During an introductory class, students learn that everyone, including direct combatants, must study magic. The teacher explains that magic users usually master 2 types, but can choose to specialize in only one. Determined, Mars decides to dedicate himself fully to studies from that moment on. Shortly after the theoretical class, students are instructed to form pairs for martial arts class. Gon quickly joins Carl, leaving Mars alone. Trying to find a partner, Mars is ignored or rejected by all other classmates. Mars finds himself completely alone after being rejected by all classmates when forming pairs, wondering if it is due to his low ranking. With no choice, he informs the instructor he has no partner, and the teacher decides he will practice personally with him. At that moment, someone approaches, catching his attention with perfect timing. Professor Wafer, a muscular and intimidating man, suddenly appears and invites Mars to train him with the sword. Surprised and clearly already familiar with the situation, Mars reacts with a "again?" The instructor tries to intervene, warning that Wafer belongs to another class, but it is too late. Mars panics and runs away. The professor only watches, wishing him good luck, while Wafer remains determined with his intense training proposal. Even intimidated, Mars faces the imposing Mr. Wafer, who challenges him with a promise to train him intensely. Instead of retreating, Mars summons courage and says there is something he would like to learn from him. Wafer sets a condition. Mars must defeat him in a sword duel. Without hesitation, Mars firmly accepts, showing determination. Impressed, Wafer smiles with satisfaction, revealing he had been watching Mars with interest even before. Mars faces Mr. Wafer in an intense sword duel. Determined, he attacks repeatedly, but the instructor blocks all strikes with ease. Despite the opponent's overwhelming strength, Mars remains steadfast, not backing down, showing courage and persistence. Even facing Wafer's overwhelming power, Mars realizes his opponent's style depends not only on brutality, but also on technique. Determined, he continues resisting attacks and refuses to retreat, locking eyes with the will to win at all costs. During the intense duel, Wafer recalls Glenn, encouraging Mars to overcome him with determination. The memory causes a moment of hesitation in Mars, but he is soon reprimanded and urged to stay focused on the fight. Mars continues fighting with determination against Wafer, facing several consecutive duels. Even without winning, he keeps challenging tirelessly, demonstrating his willpower and constant growth. Despite being completely defeated by Wafer, Mars shows gratitude and humility. He acknowledges the opponent's effort in holding back his strength on the final blow and values the lessons learned in combat, facing everything with an optimistic smile. After the intense fight, Mars earns the respect of his peers. His determination to keep getting up, even after repeated falls, inspires everyone around. Those who once avoided him now recognize his strength and ask to be friends. Even Wafer, impressed, smiles discreetly as he watches the scene. After demonstrating courage and perseverance, the boy who was once avoided becomes the center of attention. Surrounded by smiling classmates, he finally earns the recognition and popularity that once seemed out of reach.